Hello. This time, we're going to do things a little bit differently. This is the second part of my investigation into global glamping. What's that, you may ask? Well, you can actually go and stay in a nice dome tent, see the stars at night, and it's glamping, the ultimate. But there's an opportunity out there where people could actually invest and buy domes, have them built, have them serviced, and get a return on their investment. However, the problem was the company behind it was taking the money and never actually delivering the goods. In some cases, they were delivering the return on the people's investments, and the domes didn't even exist. Sound like a Ponzi scheme? Well, that's why I got involved in this investigation. And this investigation was one of the biggest blogs I've actually ever produced on an investigation. And unlike Goliath Ventures, I now am up to my 88th something video. This is probably my 5th video on this and my 2nd written blog. But this blog also turned into a marathon. And that's why we're going to do things a little bit different when reading this blog. So rather than sitting here and reading the entire blog to you, I'm going to take you through it's section by section and explain what I found and why it matters and what questions still haven't been answered. My original investigation concentrated heavily on Devon Allan Towle and the people who paid substantial amount of money for glamping projects, revenue sharing agreements, and a resort that in many cases were never delivered as expected. Resorts that in many cases were never delivered as expected. In fact, they never were even able to build on those properties, which is breathtaking when you look back now. But after publishing that investigation, people started coming forward, and one name kept appearing, Lorenzo. Now, I think it's Ayres, and I could be wrong.
Ayres.
My goodness, I got that one right. Then PhoneSales, a company that was drumming up business for Devon, opened up their records to me. And that's where the investigation really begins. Now, I could give you a sort of a summary of it all. I could actually tell you my opinion and what I think's really going on. I could probably even tell you that I believe some people should be dragged into this, I'm going to call it fraud. But at the end of the day, we have to let the evidence speak for itself. So let's show you the blog and show you the marathon and the rabbit hole that we went down. You may be surprised. On the left, we have Lorenzo Ayres. And on the right, we have Devon. And you can see PhoneSales, and you're probably wondering where they fit into the picture. Well, there's a company that was charging 40% commissions to get a sale. And that there was a big red flag that I just couldn't ignore. So I literally wrote to the owners of PhoneSales. I got an email back. It didn't actually have any signature on it. I didn't know who I was talking to. And the person that was originally working for PhoneSales, or both Lorenzo and another guy called Jack, have now disappeared. So we had somebody talking to me who I alleged was the CEO of PhoneSales, and they were basically providing me anything I asked for, and it was brilliant. But 40% commission, I'm asking, so you're telling me that if you sell something for $200,000 or $300,000, for a $200,000 project, you could take $80,000? They said, oh, we had to do all the marketing, lead generation and all that sort of stuff. And I'm going, okay, but that doesn't leave much capital left for the project. That's what I was thinking. And no doubt you might be coming to the same conclusion. But I had to put that all to the side, forget about how much these companies charge to get the sale over the line. And then other questions appeared in my head. So is PhoneSales liable for what they sold to individuals that never got the product? Or is it all fall back onto Devon? So I've asked Devon for a response. He don't want to talk to me no more. We might ring him up later on if he wants to. I asked Lorenzo for a response. Now, he gave me an amazingly long reply and told me I couldn't use any of it, but I hadn't agreed to that. So I've used a bit of that information to put together some other stuff. But that long explanation sort of sometimes makes you get a little bit suspicious. Why did this guy spend so long writing me maybe a 10,000 word reply? So I responded with a whole lot of other questions because he still didn't really answer the questions. And then I got crickets. So I wrote to him again, got more crickets. And then I got told, I'll have a look on Saturday and Sunday. We're really busy at the moment. I'll get something back to you. And then another week went by. So I said, you got 24 hours. Then I get a phone call. And we will listen to some of that phone call. Some of that phone call, he asked me to speak off the record. But between the phone call with Lorenzo and the video responses that I got about what happened with Devon and how they approached him, I think I've got a really good understanding of what's going on. And there is a really twist to this story, which I still are trying to, I don't know, process is the right use of the word. So I did start up a wee song, which I will give you that just for a minute while I have a drink. You'll probably like this one.
You sold them the dream. Domes in the mountains. Money every month. Contracts on the table. But when the dream disappeared, we followed the paperwork.
And I'm not really a music sort of guy, but I do like listening to my own music and listening to these, the lyrics to these songs are absolutely breathtaking. Just to jump into the middle of it there a little bit more.
The return, give the refund. How many times can the same money burn? Money burn.
Yeah, you get the idea. So you can go listen to that there if you want. That's got an itchy ear. Oh, it feels good. Oh, yeah, that's much better. Now to find that ear thing. Anyway, so when I published my first investigation into Global Glamping, I generally believe I had exposed one of the biggest glamping investment disasters I've ever investigated. So if you want to go to the blog, you can click on the links and the page doesn't exist. Isn't that incredible? So after I published this, I'm just going to check that link. Isn't that incredible? So after I published this, I sent it off to PhoneSales. PhoneSales has actually come back to me with more information and also asked me if I would mind moving the MP3 file that I had, which I've done. And but now what we're going to be looking at is, so Lorenzo Ayres, who claims he's innocent, has actually an innocent and also has agreed to. I'm actually going to ask him, why did you delete your, yeah. Is there a reason why you have deleted or removed your LinkedIn page? So I think that shows some sort of, I don't know, why would anyone delete their LinkedIn page? And tell you what, I actually think that's not good. And it actually makes me want to play this entire video, which, have a listen to this.
Cannot provide a tremendous amount of information because, again, there is a civil case that's currently pending, as you probably know, with Paul Moselle.
Yep.
I mean, I had a conversation with him. And Daniel Lepore. Okay? So in total, there's 14 to 15 entities. The reason why I've been a little bit aloof regarding how many units were actually sold is because I really would rather not. I really would rather not have how many claims or damages the investors are claiming on the civil suit outside of the civil suit.
Right.
So that's part of the settlement agreement.
Right. So I've got the whole 1 hour and 24 minutes where I've been asked to speak off the record. But when you get, when you publish an article like this and you link to somebody's LinkedIn profile and they delete their LinkedIn profile, it's a bit weird. Wouldn't you agree? So let's just try that again. So this page does not exist, all right? And just to prove it did exist, why would you remove your LinkedIn account? So when you search for Lorenzo Ayres, you actually find, oh, look. So let's just make sure he hasn't renamed it. Let's have a look here. Nope, gone. Let's have a look to see if they still are on Facebook. Yes. And that's not the only thing he's deleted. He's also deleted an Instagram account, which we will now show some images of that. Now we know that. So we've asked him questions like, why have you, I'll just bring those on, I'll just download those images from my source. And I should have done this before. But it doesn't make sense, if you know what I mean. Like, why can't I just do what I want to do? Hold it. Save to download. I hate save. You'll see what I'm doing in a second. Replace. Oh my goodness. WhatsApp is hopeless. You can't have two images downloaded on the same day. Okay, so now we're going to download that, save as, that. Alrighty, so let's have a look. So we've got, so are we, to me, it looks like we're, what do we call it? Scrubbing stuff from the internet. So, so we've got a Lorenzo here who's actually claiming things like 5 crazy costs at a $20 million resort. So we've got Lorenzo telling us that he's on a wage. So I've got to show you now. Now I'm seeing things happen. So here we go. We've got Lorenzo. This is what Lorenzo has said.
I think, look, the way that my contract works with my own company is I have a $3,000 stipend to live on.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my negotiation with all of my limited partners. I said, okay, I'm going to effectively be the CEO of a company that has over 100 employees, and I will be the least paid on a per hour basis.
So why would you do that? Well, I'll tell you. Mm-hmm.
As long as I get the vast majority of the shares.
Yeah.
And that was my deal, right, with my limited partners.
Yeah.
And so for me, obviously $3,000 is not a tremendous amount. It would take me years to do that. It's not always going to be like that. Mm. But as we're growing, I believe that
will help.
If I would like, faster. if what's up?
It will grow faster.
Say? Well, we're hoping, you know. I mean, we did $1.5 million last year in revenue, and I think we're probably going to hit about $6 or $7 million of revenue this year. That's all with bookings and stuff, and we're pushing to the corporate space as well. So we're doing corporate buyouts. That's going to be something that's going to be coming out pretty soon. We're hoping it's a big part of our business. So we're just trying to grow a hospitality brand as much as humanly possible.
Yeah. And so what we've got here, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a person that used to work for a company called PhoneSales. PhoneSales charge 40% to get the sale in relation to what they've done for Devon. Then the PhoneSales have come back and said to me that they have now confirmed that they actually sold 3 glamping, I don't know what to call them, side hustles, or businesses to 3 individuals. They never received the commissions. They never went after the commissions in the courtroom. And then Lorenzo doesn't work for PhoneSales anymore. And then they started up another company called PhoneSales LLC. And I say they, Devon started the company up. Now, we've got Lorenzo telling us that he knew that his name was a member of that company but he reckons that he didn't approve that to happen. So PhoneSales, initial company that Lorenzo used to work for, started selling glamping domes for Devlin. Devlin didn't pay or admit that he ever received the money from the sales that PhoneSales done. Then Devlin starts up another company called PhoneSales LLC and adds Lorenzo's name into the, Lorenzo's name into the company as a member. And then they carry on pitching glamping opportunities to people. And then Lorenzo does get paid commissions we believe, over $300,000 worth of commissions. And the real twist on this is the fact that his relationship now with Devlin's all fallen apart, even though when he suspected that Devlin was doing fraud, he went back and worked for Devlin. As far as my knowledge goes, I believe he's continued selling, or Devlin continued selling glamping packages to people. And he went back to observe just to find out how he was doing it. And now we've got another company called that Lorenzo is running, which he's getting a small wage from and getting shares in. To me, my opinion, it looks like he's actually trying to help people get their money back, but now he has an opportunity where people can actually invest and get potentially what they
New
hoping to
donation
get.
from Where's Our Money, Lorenzo Ayres.
Yeah, it's a nice donation to get. So it's as fishy as hell. Now, I'm going to stick to script to a lot of it, but the fact that he's decided to remove his LinkedIn profile, shut down a lot of his Facebook page, is absolutely breathtaking. The fact that why would somebody do that? Now, if we go back to these images, what people think of a 30-year-old CEO of a $30 million resort must be daddy's money. Easy when family is wealthy. He's too young. He doesn't have life experience. It was all inherited. He's only one face. And that was posted on a Twitter account. A Instagram account that's now been removed. All right. And then image number 2, we've got what people don't understand. Homeless for 2 years. Dad overdosed at 14. Immigrant from Italy. English is a second language. Worked 12 hours, 7 days a week since he was 16. I don't know what that means, but here he is. These were two on the reels, so to speak. And then obviously this one here, now we've got a $20 million resort. So what's going on here? I don't know, but why would somebody remove their LinkedIn account? So hopefully you've got a good answer for that one, Lorenzo. But in the meantime, when you search for Lorenzo, you're going to be finding your name associated with this company, and people can read it. And also, if anyone ever wants a copy or they listen to some of that recording and some emissions I've got from him, please let me know. So the introduction, though, this is the update that's probably important to read.
Update, the 9th of August, 2026. Following publication, PhoneSales provided additional context about its involvement with Global Glamping. I have updated relevant sections of this investigation to clarify the scale of its reported sales, the due diligence it says it conducted, the checks it acknowledges it did not perform, and the circumstances surrounding its decision to end the relationship. I have also voluntarily removed a publicly accessible raw audio recording after PhoneSales raised concerns that it identified individual purchasers and the amounts they had paid. The recording remains part of my source material, and these updates do not constitute a retraction of the reporting based upon it.
Yeah, so I actually had a MP3 file of the complete recording that we had with Devlin and PhoneSales, and they got that from a trusted source. So I thought they didn't tell me I couldn't use it, but when they said I used it, they said it does expose people that have invested, I said, oh, look, let's just remove it. It's not necessary. It doesn't add to the investigation. And obviously I can quote from it, and obviously I can still refer back to it. So that's what happened just last night. So since my original investigation was published, my inbox become flooded with people. Obviously, Lorenzo now is actually acting very suspicious, in my opinion. And he's also seems to be taking a breadcrumb wage to keep himself lean. And I think the reason why he may be doing that, in my opinion, is the fact that he doesn't want to pay back the money. But we actually have him on file now saying that he will pay back the money, but only after the contract that he has with his own company allows him to be wealthy enough to do so. So I think if my advice to anybody who's signed up under Lorenzo, the salesman, I would actually be going after getting that, at least your commission money back, which theoretically could be as...
New donation from you. Use investor funds to buy AOAP.com.
Well, there you go. Used investors' funds to buy America, whatever that is, AOAP, which is the abbreviated version. So that's incredible. So I'm not going to read this entire blog. However, I am going to read the introduction, so I'm going to contradict myself because I think I'm not going to read it personally. I just want you guys to absorb what's actually going on here so you're up to date with what's happening. I'm just going to read the whole lot in one yard.
The more I investigated global glamping, the bigger the story became. Every answer uncovered another question. Every document led to another witness. Every phone call introduced another player. Eventually I realized this wasn't just about Devon Allan Towle anymore. When I published my first investigation into Global Glamping LLC, I genuinely believed I had exposed one of the biggest glamping investment disasters I'd ever investigated. Investors from around the world had trusted Devon Allan Towle, signed contracts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and waited for geodomes, revenue-sharing payments and refund promises that, for many, never arrived. I thought I had reached the end of the story. Instead, it was just the beginning. Update, the 9th.
Yeah, so we don't do the update bit again. So since my investigation was published, my inbox has been flooded. Evidence, purchasers have shared contracts, bank records and emails. Former insiders have trusted me with recordings, internal communications and documents that have never been seen publicly. Companies that once worked alongside Global Glamping have opened their files. I've now spent hours interviewing people who helped market the opportunity, people who sold it, people who later claim they deceived themselves. Was it deceived?
Deceived.
Deceived themselves, and purchasers who are still trying to recover the lost. And at the same time of all this investigation, one person's name kept coming up, Lorenzo Ayres. So once... to some purchasers, Lorenzo was a friendly voice who explained the opportunity, answered the questions, and guided them through the paperwork. And this is what really gets me. I hate sales. I'm no good at it myself. I ask people to donate to my channel, and I always feel guilty. Remember, I don't get paid for doing this, and any donations are much welcome. And like all good investigations, they take hours and hours of time, and sometimes I question why I do it. And then I read this sort of stuff, and I go, this is why I do it. This guy here is acting suspicious. Why would someone remove their LinkedIn profile? And I'm actually going to test that because I want people in the chat room, just in case he's blocked me. Oops, that didn't work. Just in case he's blocked me. Or has he literally deleted his LinkedIn profile so no one can actually see who he is? So anyone in the chat room, could you please go to that link I've given you and tell me whether you get a 404 error like this, or has he just blocked me? And if he's blocked me, why would he block me? Because he's been so helpful. Now, this is what really, really gets me. He wrote me a marathon-long email originally, gave me a whole lot of contract, and basically told me that he was sorry. And he had nothing to do with it. At the end of the day, Devon was the person that did it all. All right? So I used that to put together a big part of this blog. Then I went and did more research into phone sales. After nagging him and nagging him and nagging him, I finally got a phone call. He didn't want to put anything else in writing. And obviously I've recorded the phone call, and he's asked me not to put things on the record because he believes that he's helping victims. But in the meantime, he's used the commissions that he's received from victims to potentially put into his own company, and now he's selling packages to people. It sounds like he went and worked for PhoneSales, learned how they ring up and operate, got fired from there, met Devlin. Devlin set up his own phone sales company. Lorenzo went and worked for Devlin, started selling more Devlin's opportunities to people, then realized Devlin wasn't delivering, used the commission money to set up his own camping business, and now is selling too good to be true opportunities to people, which we're going to have a look at. Something's not right here. It's the world that we live in. I mean, this is not right. This is not how you do business. This is not how you get ahead. And not only that, now you're trying to scrub information from the internet. So we've got this YouTube, Instagram channel here that you see this has all been deleted. Obviously, LinkedIn, deleted. What am I meant to think? To some purchasers, Lorenzo was the friendly voice that explained the opportunity, answering their questions and guided them through the paperwork. To others, he now presents himself as someone who was misled by Devon and who has spent the last year helping victims pursue justice. After spending more than an hour and 24 minutes with Lorenzo, myself, and comparing that interview with contracts, emails, CRM records, and recordings from multiple independent sources, I believe his role deserves a much closer explanation than it has received to date. Another unexpected development came from PhoneSales. Now, if you want to have a wee quick look at PhoneSales, I'm sure they haven't deleted their website because they've been very helpful. But interestingly enough, as you can see, this video, the owner has been notified. The video isn't available. The owner has been notified. So I don't know what's going on here. But are we witnessing more scrubbing of content? I don't know. But look, if I was to do an independent investigation on PhoneSales, I wouldn't be surprised that this company is doing what I call, I have to be honest, if you look at what they're promising their sales team in rewards and potentially telling people how much money they can make. Well, here we go. Sales appointment sellers. What have we got up here at the top? This ticket. Sales to closer. We close higher ticket deals from 5K to 200K. They've got adverts out there saying they're hiring. Oh, here we are. We are hiring. And they tell you the potential money that these people that they hire to do sales are getting. And it's, here we go here. So look, commissions only. Earn potentially $3,000 to $1,200 a month doing sales. They're, as far as I'm concerned, they're based out of Dubai. Well, the guy I was corresponding with out of Dubai. But really, so you can get a job commission-based and earn up to $12,000 a month. I mean, you know, these are just, in my opinion, these are just sales guys who don't really care about what they're selling as long as they get the sales over the line. And maybe that was a red cloth for a bull in an arena like Devon to use their services. But what did Devon learn from these people? What did, I've forgotten his name, Lorenzo learns from these people? To do sales or to take money? You can be the judge of that. Okay, another expected development came from PhoneSales. When I contacted the company, I expected a brief denial or perhaps no response at all. Instead, they did something I wish more companies would do. They opened their records. They provided CRM data, contracts, internal messages, recordings, timelines, and documents explaining how their relationship with Devon and Lorenzo unfolded. PhoneSales says 3 completed sales. PhoneSales says, I thought it was 4, but they updated this last night. They say 3 completed sales were reported through its operation during the entire Global Glamping engagement. An important distinction from the much wider group of purchases examined through this investigation. So in total, Lorenzo talks about a lawsuit going on where he's got 14 or 15 people involved in it. PhoneSales have really only closed 3 of those deals. So they're not the smoking gun I was looking for at the time. Whether readers ultimately agree with PhoneSales' approximately 40% commission structure or believe its original due diligence went far enough are legitimate questions explored later in this investigation. So that's what we've got. PhoneSales itself acknowledged that its verification should have gone further. Is that verification? Sorry, I'm a bit after that. Verification should have gone further, particularly around permits and approval. But another fact deserves equal recognition. PhoneSales produced evidence capable of testing its own account. That material fundamentally changes my understanding of how part of Global Glamping's sales operation functioned behind the scenes. PhoneSales also says it ended its involvement in September 2024. So we have no reason to believe that's not true. They've shown me the CRM, and I can see that they got 3 deals over the line, and these guys actually didn't make any money out of it whatsoever. So they don't even have commissions to hand back in a court case if it went to court, because they didn't deliver the product, but they did sell the product, unlike Lorenzo. While evidence examined later in this investigation indicates that selling activity involving Lorenzo continued afterwards. So Lorenzo carried on selling glamping deals after PhoneSales had stopped. That distinction matters because the people and companies examined in this investigation did not necessarily apply the same roles, operate for the same period, or carry out the same level of responsibility. As I followed the paper trail, another surprise emerged. Lorenzo is now the public face of America's outdoor adventure park, another resort development promoting high-value investment opportunities. That discovery raised obvious questions. Had one chapter ended only for another one to begin? I approached that question with an open mind, and it was hard to do, determined to judge the evidence rather than the personalities involved. So let's just have a quick look at what Lorenzo's business is: the ultimate all-inclusive adventure resort. And if you can go through here, you can see it is glamping probably at its finest. He did talk about how they charged up to $900 for an experience. And they've got luxury cabins. You can have up to 6 people staying there. And, this is the resort, and these are the different cabins that they've got. It looks pretty cool. It looks pretty amazing. There's no doubt about it. I'm sure he'd be proud. But imagine if he's used your commissioned money, if you're an investor, to actually start this complex here. And now he's the CEO of this company, claims that he has 100 staff working for him and wants to be the less paid in the village. And also has admitted that he's willing to pay back the commissions when he can afford it. But in the meantime, instead of payment, he's taken shares in the company that he's helping to build. He's the CEO of what theoretically Devlin potentially was selling people, which is a bit hard to swallow. But anyway, there's probably a lot of people that actually work here for this company, but that's not the investment part of the business. I'm going to show you another website, which hopefully is still online by the time we get down there, if he's not trying to take that offline at the moment. Another resort development promoting high-valued investment opportunities. So I read that already. This investigation is not about proving guilt. It's about documenting the facts, testing competing narratives, and allowing the evidence to tell the story. Devon Allan Towle has provided this
donation
explanation.
from Lorenzo Devon are both scammers.
Thank you for the donations. And just so people know, I have no control what people put in those in those donations. They have a choice of putting a name or a message, and that message has been there by somebody independent to me, which is funny when you think, I think it might be a disgruntled investor, just saying. Anyway, PhoneSales has opened its records and subsequently provided further context after publication. Purchasers have shared their experience. My job isn't to distinguish those different roles, test what each party says against the available evidence. Sorry, I said that all wrong. My job is to distinguish those different roles, test what each party says against available evidence, and present what I can establish as accurately and fairly as I can. What follows in this investigation I never expected to write, because the deeper I dug into global glamping, the less it looked like a story of a failed resort. And I just thought this was a domestic dispute at the start. It is a full-blown fraud. The Devlin especially is in the center of it all. But the question that you want to ponder, did he have co-conspirators? Were people aware of what was happening? Are people hiding behind willful blindness? Willful blindness is when you're not going to investigate something because you don't want to know the truth. So that's willful blindness. Well, it doesn't stand up in the courtroom. I can tell you that. It's become the story of how opportunity was sold, who profited from promoting it, what happened behind the scenes when everything began to unravel, and why so many purchasers are still searching for answers today. So this is, I think this is the biggest blog I've written, and I said that with edition 1, but I couldn't help it. So I decided to write an index, follow the investigation. And basically what that means is you can actually come here and click on each part of the investigations. There is, wait for it, ladies and gentlemen, 38 different sections to this blog. And what I've done to save my time and your time is I've abbreviated this whole blog for me to tell you what each section says. So I'm going to go to number 1, and you can see this handsome looking fella here in his blue, I don't know what the hell that is, suit. And I'm going to give you a summary of section 1 here. This section explains how PhoneSales become involved in my investigation. I contacted them expecting the usual corporate response. Instead, they started supplying records. They were talking CRM information, contact information, recordings, and internal documents. So let's just go down a little bit there so you can read along. Instead, they gave me something I didn't have before, a view of part of the Global Glamping sales operation from the inside. And that is important, just an important distinction. PhoneSales says only 3 completed sales were ever reported through its operation during the entire Global Glamping engagement. So 3 sales came from Global Sales. However, we now have a new company set up called PhoneSales, and it has Devlin as the director, and he allegedly has added Lorenzo, what is his name? Goodness me, Lorenzo name as a member without Lorenzo's knowledge, apparently. Anyway, PhoneSales, says only 3 of the sales come through them. I have established that PhoneSales was responsible for a much wider pool of purchase. I have not established that PhoneSales was responsible for the much wider pool of purchases examined throughout this investigation. It is important to this story. It's important to this story. It's important to this story comes from someone else. It doesn't make any sense. I'm just going to read that section in the next just to see what
Its importance to this story comes from something else. It had the records.
Okay, so the importance to this story comes from something else. They actually had the records, and that's what really counts, and that's the evidence I was looking for. And suddenly I could start comparing what Devlin was saying, what Lorenzo was saying, and what the contemporaneous records showed. So that's the first section there, which I'm not going to read because it's just too long. And, what really got me when I heard 40% commission, it was actually like a red flag to a bull, to be honest. So the next section, this one was the thing that really grabbed my attention. PhoneSales explained that after its arrangement, approximately 40% of the cash collected on reported sales it generated could flow into the sales operation. So they were taking 40% commission from the sales. And I just couldn't process that in my little wee brain. Anyway, especially when you're selling big ticket items, it's like the most expensive realtor in the world. But anyway, that's how they work these days. And maybe that's the price of acquisition. And that's what they were charging. And also, yourself, if you've got a product or a service, you do spend a lot of time trying to market it. So maybe they just take all that hassle away. Who am I to judge them? They were the most useful people here. Now think about that. Before someone had a dome built, before they received the rental income, and before the business had delivered what had been promised, a substantial portion of money could already be allocated to the sales opportunity. Photo Sales had explained that this wasn't simply 40% profit going into someone's pocket. It funded advertising, lead generation, appointment sales, and representatives, management, and other costs. PhoneSales says that Global Glamping campaign, ultimately, they actually lost money. That context matters, but so does the number. PhoneSales had also explained that before taking on Global Glamping, it was looking at what appeared to be So when they took on the Global Glamping, contract, it was looking at what appeared to be operating resorts, real guests, live bookings, and thousands of reviews. Well, they didn't have thousands of reviews, but they did have a 4.8 review in one of the resorts, and I think that was for So what it did not do was independently verify the permits and the approval behind the specific projects being sold. So if they were talking about starting up a new glamping opportunity, they didn't go into, whether they had the permits and the like. They were relying on Devon to do that, even though they sold the dream anyway. And I can sort of understand it from both points of view. This person has done it before, so why do we need to validate whether he's going to do it next time? I get that side of it. PhoneSales also explained that before taking on Global Glamping, sorry, I'm just repeating myself. I'm reading this off two different scripts. I'm not saying large commissions automatically make someone fraudulent. It doesn't. But when six-figure transactions carry substantial financial incentives, I think it's entirely legitimate to ask what level of independent validation. Oh my God, why does ChatGPT give me such big words to read?
Independent verification proportionate to what was being sold.
Yeah, so you can read all that to your heart's content, and you can probably read it better than I can. But what I was trying to do today, I didn't want to sit here and read this blog because it would literally take me 3 hours, and I'm not prepared to do that. But I have actually put all this research online for a reason, and I think it's important that if you have invested or you are thinking about investing in future glamping investments, you need to read this stuff from head to tail, and that's why I've left it there. So next one is the leads that started appearing somewhere else. The PhoneSales noted something strange. They believe leads generated through their marketing and sitting inside their own CRM were apparently turning into Global Glamping's transactions outside the sales process. So what PhotoSales, far out, PhotoSales was telling me is they were generating the leads, but they seemed to be straying outside their CRM. And the sales process, outside the sales process. So it was what they were sort of insinuating without even saying it, and I'll say it because I don't care, is that they were generating the leads, but the deals were getting closed outside their sales process or their CRM, and that is not cool. That is very not cool. PhotoSales had since described the allegation very simply. It says, so this is the thing that PhoneSales told me. It says Lorenzo worked leads from inside its operation, and that deals involving some of those same people were simultaneously closed outside of it. So that's their words, not my word. They created obvious questions. If that created obvious questions, if PhoneSales generated the customer, where was the deal being closed? Who was getting paid? And why wasn't PhoneSales being told? Now, I want to be careful here. A lead appearing in a CRM does not automatically prove that people stole it, diverted a commission, or committed fraud. There could be an innocent answer. Customers can move between salespeople or deal directly with the business for legitimate reasons. The significance comes from the surrounding records and the patterns PhoneSales says it identified. Those concerns eventually led to a remarkable meeting with Devlin. So what these guys did is they confronted Devlin. They got him on a Zoom, and I have the recording. However, this recording was amazing because in here, Devlin decided it would be a good idea to show his bank account because he was acting as dumb as F. And he was basically, I might actually put up the first part of that if I can, because I just don't want this. I don't want you to lose. I'm just trying to think if I got that handy. 1 second, please, caller. Oh, no, I haven't got it handy. I have got it handy, but we will need to do it a different way. Because I just want you to witness how stupid Devlin looks. And that might be really horrible, but I think it's really important to sort of see the goofy look on his face. And I'll just see if I can actually bring this up. Right. And I feel sorry for the phone sale guys. I'll be honest. Because they have actually done everything I've asked them to do. And they do seem like a legitimate company. I just struggle with the 40%. But they actually spend a lot of time and energy marketing these domes, and they probably thought they were going to be here for a long time, not just get 3 sales. And then at the end of the day, they didn't receive anything, which is just amazing. So I'll just get to the point where I want to get to. Okay, and this is just stupid stuff. I'm not going to play the whole video, so don't freak out, phone sales. But just want you to witness the goofball Devlin.
Let's do it. What's up, bro? What's up? What's up? You hear us?
Yeah, I'm back now. Sorry, dude. I was asleep and then I fucking had to go get my computer.
You're good, bro. You're good. All right. Let me pick back up where we left off.
Yeah, you were saying something about deals closing or something.
So get this. I mean, even just the terminology of this. You were saying something about deals closing or something. Like he knows nothing. And the other things in this one, I don't know where to find it in a hurry. He claims that he doesn't even, he just signs the documents and doesn't read them.
Yeah, so check this out. Let me share my screen and.
I don't know if I can share this, so I'll just go back.
Okay, let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah, so I can't show you this, but basically it's a CRM and it's got a customer's name in it and their phone numbers and all that sort of carry on. So they're basically going through everything that they've signed. They're basically proven to Devon that they have signed up people, and then we've got a stage here where he's going through the Wells Fargo's bank account, but we know that he was using another company and receiving funds. So this is why when we say to people, let the evidence speaks for itself, let's follow the money. And we ask you, where did you deposit the money? And they go, I've got a bank account. It's really important because in this, I can't show you because it's got a bank account on it, but here's Devlin. And at the time he brings up his bank account and he has $179,000 in it. and they're looking for transactions for $300, $100, and I think $80,000, and it's just ridiculous. It really is. So I'm just going to see if we can go back now and listen to some of this. Let's go here.
Hypothetically, none of these transactions ever happened. Lorenzo makes 4 documents of. Here, I love you. Have a good night. Good dreams. 4 receipts of payments from $98,000 to $300,000. I mean, that's like just negligent in itself, and that's not like him.
Look at the face of Devon. He's acting like he doesn't know what's going on. It's his company. And, and now after this breakdown on September 2024, Lorenzo and Devon become great. And I've also had a word from another individual who knows Devon really well. And also Devon was skiting to him about how much commissions he was paying Lorenzo at the time. And that's another phone call, which I haven't even mentioned in this blog. So here's Devon looking confused about what's happened to the money. And either he decided he couldn't afford or didn't want to pay the commissions to PhoneSales. But this is what he's been doing all along.
He's a pretty meticulous dude.
I mean, I could screen record me.
Hey, if you can send us the statements, I think that's fine, Devon.
I mean, have we ever even had different wire info? I don't think so. There's only been one set of wire info, right?
Yeah.
So how do you confront somebody when you know that these customers have paid money, and then you've got Devon sitting there going through his bank account saying he can't see any of the transactions? So it's just batshit crazy. I'll just flip the screen again, but I think the bit at the end summarized it all. Every time Devon opens his mouth, it's always amazing what he comes out with, but I'll just see what he's going to say here.
About maybe like he's getting I don't know. I really don't know either. I'm confused.
They're too old. One's from like August 1st. If the money didn't come in yet. All right. We wanted to talk to you before we had any conversation with Lorenzo.
Yeah.
If you could not say anything to Lorenzo before Jack and I get a hold of him, because we don't know whether we'll be able to get a hold of him tonight or not yet.
Okay.
Second thing is, so again, like I know that we've talked about this before, but like I think especially after this whole incident, because like whatever happened, like
whether it's nothing or something,
yeah, whether it's nothing or something. The second thing is that like we have to. This is why we don't have closers like often communicating with like a client, right, with you, because like it can create issues. So like again, moving forward, like if a closer hits you up, unless it's Lane, like just like
say, hey, you got to talk to Jack.
Yeah, again, and because
I'm not going to play any more of this. I don't think I need to. But what I'm getting at here, guys, look, I've owned my own business for 30 years. When you start outsourcing your sales and your relationships, basically, you're going to have problems along the way. Now, if you're going to hire services of companies like PhoneSales and they're going to do the big sales pitch and ramp it all up, and then get that special sales for you, I would go through the contracts with a fine-tooth comb to see what they actually did. Now, I worked with a mate and we hired a telemarketer once. I remember turning up to do the job. This guy wanted a website with basically amazing stuff that wasn't even out in the world at the moment, because the telemarketer had just done whatever it took to get the sale so he could get the commission. I mean, whether this company's ethical or not, I can't make a thing on, but everything that they provided me, their digital footprint of everyone they talked to was just world class. And the fact that Devon, the owner of the company, theoretically had signed at least 3 contracts, and then in the same video claims that he never actually read the contracts he signed. left the responsibility to Lorenzo or PhoneSales, and now he doesn't even know where the money's gone, if the money's come in or whatever. But, you know, from my research, I know that he's got multiple companies. Now, just using Goliath Ventures and Christopher Delgado as an example, Christopher Delgado actually had 30 bank accounts, and they were getting shut down by the Avengers. Some of these guys, you know, when it comes to money, you know, Lorenzo kept taking the money. There's no doubt about it. PhoneSales did 3 sales, didn't get paid the commissions, smelled a red flag and stopped. Lorenzo was working for PhoneSales. What does he do? Well, he goes out there and starts up his own company and carries on selling these glamping packages to people who have lost their money today. Wouldn't it be right to think that Lorenzo should have ceased selling? If Lorenzo's received over $300,000 worth of commissions, and I asked him, and he wouldn't admit it. And I'm going to actually find that. I'm just going to go back to this because I've actually got some clever technology here. Oh, I don't know if I've actually put that. Oh, I have put that in there. So I've just got myself some really cool software, which I'll show you in a second. But I don't even know if I can do this, but I think I can. This will be quite cool if we get this under. I'll just do what I need to do. 1 minute. URL scan. Oonk. Where it is. Tools, dashboard. I'll just see if I can find it. Lorenzo. Now, what did he say to me? Something interesting. Yeah, so what I was trying to think of. So he's actually said he sells. What did he actually say that was interesting there, Danny? I don't know, but he signed up people. Keep working. So he said he went back and worked after September. He signed up people. How many people? No, I haven't got that. How many? So yeah, with this is an amazing program. I'm going to show you some of it. But I can actually go along to any other part of this transcript, and I can. So maybe just some of this, so you get the idea. Do you feel guilty about your association with Devon?
Do I feel guilty about my association with Devon?
Yeah.
I think
a wonderful thing, but yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a tough question to answer on record because I know that it's going to get clipped up.
All right. Well, I'm not. Well, yeah. Well, we weren't clipping things up. We haven't spent things, but I think the question that comes to mind that would really help me think is I said about paying back the people who had lost the money, and he said basically he's on a shoestring budget at the moment, but when he gets the money, he'd pay back the people that have lost. But he also carried on selling these glamping packages to people after he discovered that Devon was shady. So rather than going to the authorities or whatever, and also it's pretty obvious that he's, gone and set up his own business. So let's have a look at these, what I've come up with this meeting deals, because it's going to get a bit strange. So it's the meeting. Devlin was asked to explain the missing document. So this was one of the strongest pieces of evidence in this investigation. PhoneSales confronted Devon in a recorded Zoom meeting, which you've seen I've obviously got. I have reviewed that recording and retained it as source material. So here it's just saying the raw MP3 was originally made public alongside this investigation. I've since removed this, and that's the editor's note that you're reading there. Removed the public file photos raised a questionable concern that individuals' purchases and amounts had been paid. So what we identified in the recording that we just watched some of is that these guys had closed deals, never received the money. Somebody received the money. Devon couldn't find it, but we do know that. That's right. I know exactly what part I want to find of this investigation, and I'm just going to put the screen over here for a second. I just wanted to find. I asked him how much money he had made from commissions, and I want to see if I can
New
actually find
donation
that.
from Lorenzo fired for stealing lunch.
Yeah, we're coming to that.
Scammer.
Right, is yourself at 300 grand. So if I think I asked him 50. How much commissions? Hold up. Commissions. Let's just search for the word commissions and see. There's 15 chances of commissions here. Where are they? Taking the money from, are they right? Okay, let's see, because I wanted you to understand that he wouldn't tell me how much commissions he's received. Paid commissions. Yeah, I just want to find the part where he talks about commissions. Sorry to be a bit. I do this live, remember? Commissions. And I just wanted him to actually tell me how much commissions he'd received. Oh, okay. So it's at 47 minutes in. Here we go. 47. Oh, yeah, 47. 47. 46. Okay, so let's have a listen to this.
That I was the devil and all of this other stuff.
Of course, religious tones.
Right.
Yep.
And after 3 months, I finally got this guy to agree to a settlement that I thought was very advantageous for the people that were affected. Everybody agreed on it, right? It was doable for Devon, or that's what at least I thought, and it was doable for the investors. And the repayment was supposed to be like.
So we've had multiple times when, where he's claimed that he would pay back people. And then when shit comes to shove, he didn't pay back people. He just paid back the first month, the second month, and then he stopped payments. So this is what Lorenzo was sort of saying, that there was going to come up with a settlement that everyone would be happy with. But he just buys more time.
2 to 3 years out. Okay, so it still gave him plenty of time, right? It was a very reasonable deal. Yep. We just wanted collateral, and that's what we really, really pushed on. And after all of that, he doesn't even make the first payment.
Yeah, I'm surprised there.
That's
yeah.
So
this is the part I wanted to ask.
That's how it goes. With my correspondence I've had with other people who they reckon that you've received around about 330K from commissions. Would that be a fair number?
I cannot disclose that information.
Okay. And
so cannot disclose how much commissions she's made, but later on we sort of get a little bit more of an indication how much that is.
If you have received anything from 50,000 up to 500,000, are you saying that you would offer those commissions back, or you'd pay those back if you're ordered to, or would you give them back?
Yes, it would take me a while to give them back. Obviously, I don't just have 300 to 400 grand lying around.
Right.
Well, he does actually, doesn't he? Because he's got shares sitting in the American outdoor venture park. So, that's where he's hiding his money at the moment, if you want to. Coming from a guy that's just deleted his LinkedIn profile and removed Instagram accounts because he doesn't want people to sniff around, I assume that's why. I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, I think that's fair. I mean, I get it. I think you're probably going to have your hardest job, just off the record as well, is after you went back.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. So I can't take my hat off to PhoneSales enough. No one wants to be involved in an investigation, but they gave me all the receipts. They gave me everything I wanted. Lorenzo's looks like he's scrubbing the internet, his trail. He doesn't want to disclose information, hiding behind potential lawsuits where he's working for victims. But if you think that's unusual, wait until you get to the next part of this. This is where it gets even weirder. So so they asked him to search for. So in the phone sales video that we've just been watching, Devon made an extraordinary statement about contracts coming from DocuSign. Anything that comes through, I just sign it. Like, I don't really check it. That's what he said. So basically, all the sales techniques and all the. So I asked Lorenzo, and it will come out later on again, does he write the contracts? And he said, no, I don't. But he adds the clauses into the contract, goes through them with the customer, and works on all the terms. And then he gives them to Devlin, and Devlin says he just signs it. He doesn't really check anything. So they even asked him to search for transactions during the meeting, including one involving approximately $300,000. Now, he only had $179,000 in the bank, so it wasn't a big pile of money sitting there. He couldn't immediately locate the responding payment. PhoneSales has subsequently pointed out something important. Devon was searching one account during that call. PhoneSales had no way of knowing whether other accounts existed. And through our research, we have found that he has multiple accounts where the money from these sales could have gone. PhoneSales had subsequently pointed out something. Devlin was searching one account during the call. PhoneSales had no way of knowing whether another account existed. So his inability to find a transaction during the meeting does not establish Global Glamping complete banking history, and it certainly does not prove anyone stole the money. But it demonstrates exactly why this investigation desperately needs a proper forensic accounting to show where the money goes. Now, I think that's quite a fair surmising there, that if Devlin claims that he's been scammed, because that's what Devlin's done, then why wouldn't you get forensics accounting done on all your money and everything like that, before you get started? So that was quite an in-depth piece. So a lot of what I've just talked about generally here is covered in that section, and you can go directly to that section. And just to show you how that works, because I just love the way Lorenzo's bigger picture. So here, you come down here, and then you go, boom, look at that. That's pretty clever, isn't it? So let's go into section number 2. It says, now we get to Lorenzo. Lorenzo wasn't simply a random name appearing in a document. He was communicating with prospective purchasers, explaining the opportunity, providing information, and participating in phone sales process. In the sales process. Sorry, it wasn't phone sales. His name also appeared on the agreement prepared by Lorenzo Ayres. So the question becomes, what exactly was Lorenzo's, what role did he play? So that's what that section there is basically all about. And we did get some information, and we did get some correspondence from Lorenzo. And to be honest, I felt like I was being sweet talked, and I thought he was hoping that I would not investigate or not carry on digging after a nice phone call with him. So the salesman who says he became a victim is the next section that we'll have a look at. Lorenzo's position is interesting because he doesn't simply deny being involved. He acknowledges selling Global Glamping, but he says he was deceived by Devon as well. According to Lorenzo, he believed the resort was genuine, believed the business, the business would deliver what was being sold, and eventually realized something was seriously wrong. So I had to investigate 2 possibilities simultaneously. Could Lorenzo have helped selling something that caused enormous losses? And could he also have been deceived as well? Those 2 things are necessary I can't even read what I've got written here to read, so I'll just have to read the last part of
aren't
that.
necessarily mutually exclusive.
Yeah, so that's when we moved on to section number 7. More than an hour with Lorenzo. Now, we've got the recording, and I think we need to go through this first before we listen to it. Then I spent more than an hour speaking with him directly, and to his credit, he talked. I questioned him about Global Glamping, Devon, contracts, his commissions, purchases, his involvement after things went wrong, and what he knew while he was selling. So is willful blindness going to be his saving grace here? He already acknowledged to me that he realized that Devon wasn't completing the purchases. In fact, Devon was coming back saying that he can keep up with the demand, not delivering the product, and then he kept on selling the product. And now he's claiming that he's helping people in a lawsuit, which just doesn't quite add up, if you want my opinion. The conversation became important because I could compare Lorenzo's recollection against documents, recordings supplied by independently by other sources. So let's just have a wee looky look here. I'll see if I can bring up the recording. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to put this one here on play. So this is a recording, and on another screen that you can't see, I've got timestamps, which I will actually, I think I've got that right. Have I got the timestamps? I think I have got that. Yes, I have. So I'll just stop that video. So what we're going to do is have a listen to certain sections of the recording. Some things that I want you guys to hear. I asked him what his role was.
Yeah, but my role in PhoneSales
Yeah.
was I would wake up, I would have leads on my calendar that booked a call, and I would talk to these individuals. That was my job.
Yep.
As far as contracts and such, I did not have the ability or capability to sign contracts.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you've talked to Paul Marcel, you talked to Daniel Lepore. I'm sure you've talked to a couple of other people because I have seen other buyers.
I've got all the contracts that were associated to you, and I've got all the Salesforce or whatever content management program they're using.
Correct. And then the wiring information is on those as well.
Yeah.
So if you go into the purchase and sell agreement, you should see that it was going to Devon specifically. I think he had some kind of like a trust set up or whatever have you.
Yeah, so I watched the video last night. I'll tell you now, because I watched the video last night, 27 minutes long, and Devon's got his bank account open, trying to find the...
So that's all cool. So then I wanted to know, so I asked him about things like, the construction. I mean, he was getting more sales and the domes weren't turning up. So was it pretty obvious that the deals weren't getting complete? This is what he said.
All right. Guess we're on the record. The way that he set up the agreements were the following. He was supposed to have a 45, 60-day window of delivering the units.
Yep.
Some of the agreements, I think, had 90 days or whatever have you, because maybe there were multiple units or whatever have you.
Yep, I get that, yep.
Which, again, makes sense, right? I thought there were...
I'm not sure, Neville. Just reading the comments in the chat rooms. Stephen McCullough, you're talking about. I think these are all the same. They're selling something and not delivering it. Is that what you mean? Do buy a class action guy. I think you're talking, I'm not sure you're talking about there, but anyway, let's carry on.
Slightly aggressive, but then he told me, hey, look, this is how fast I can get them done. I'm like, okay, are you sure?
Yeah.
He also showed me videos of him, quote unquote, getting them done, just to let you know.
I think we've all seen
those
videos.
And you were mates at the time, because obviously you've gone to conferences together with him and everything's dandy, and and if you're going to be say you're used, then obviously you hung out with him, you were friends, quite speech marks, and you were just doing like you do business with any other normal partner. But then what I'm insinuating is when you got to the 90 days and the product wasn't delivered, then all of a sudden the flags went off and you went, right, I'm not doing this anymore until you deliver.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And so...
And that's not quite correct, because later on he says he went back to work for Devon.
That's normal,
At that
mate.
time, well, here's how he set up the contracts. This minimum payment deal was not supposed to be this type of guarantee of sorts. For whatever reason, like it came out to be, because he wasn't delivering the units. But it was effectively a penalty on the developer if he was late.
Right.
And so when those payments stopped, and again, I'm sending all the text messages with me and the investors, me and him, everything to the FBI. I already have that.
Yeah.
Okay. But those, I have to go back, but I think it was like January, February, March. The last unit that I sold was in December.
All right. So now we've got PhoneSales telling us that their last involvement was September. So PhoneSales stopped selling in September, and Lorenzo's just telling us the last sales that he got was in December. So he continued selling, and then I think what we're about to hear is he's going to tell us that he went back and worked for Devon.
And then after that, I didn't sell at all.
Right.
I think it was in February, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
where people stopped getting paid and people start reaching out to me and saying, what's going on?
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that this guy was not going to fulfill.
Right.
He was sending everybody these pictures of, oh, look, there's snow on the ground.
Yeah, I get it.
And I would keep telling Devon, you cannot use the force majeure clause in a contract if it is regular to have snow in Stevensville, Montana.
Yeah. Yep.
It has to be an irregular event. So just build the units.
Yep.
At the end of the day, this is what I think honestly happened. Okay? He said he had the permitting. He said he had the ability to build. He sent all of this engineering plans.
Yep.
He on text message told me he was approved for 80 units.
Right. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we couldn't get a unit up.
Yeah.
And I watched this guy on Facebook build units in other areas of the other resorts.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, when do we get to Stevensville?
Right.
When are we getting to Stevensville? And the truth of the matter is he couldn't build there.
Right. Well, that's what I've discovered as well, obviously. But I'm not really looking for excuses. What I'm trying to do is obviously you're a big part of this next story. And what I'm trying to figure out is, obviously you've been paid commissions for selling the products. And I can understand it's fair, but do you have a contract with Devon and yourself on what happens? You must be a clause in there on what happens if the job doesn't get delivered. Like when do your commissions get paid and you're free to go via his contract? You know what I mean?
Well, via the 1099 contract, just like any other 1099 sales contract,
Right.
it's based on cash collected. Is the cash collected? Okay, well, if it's collected, there you go. I've already committed to investors that I'm willing to either partially offset the costs associated with the legal costs.
Right.
And then potentially remit some, if not all, of my commission.
Right.
I mean, to be
Pretty big claim there. Now, why would somebody be doing that? There's a reason. There's a reason why people delete their LinkedIn accounts. Did anyone check that LinkedIn account when we went back there and see if whether it went? Oh, hello, Susie. Nice to see you here. You reckon he blocked? Oh, so he must have blocked you. So can people go to that LinkedIn account? Yeah, because he probably has blocked me. But why would you block me after answering all these questions, proving that you're innocent? It doesn't make sense. If you enjoy listening to that, I think that's quite interesting. Let's have a listen to some more of it.
be quite frank with you, I've already written my commission off.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see everyone's got caught up in this. I mean, I'm working for the victims, and they have put, some of them have put $25,000, which is all they're saving. Some of them have put, $300,000 in.
No, some of them have put even more.
Yeah.
So again, if we can go off the record for a second.
All right. So 14 minutes. We said we would go off the record. The resorts investment model. So when we're back on the record, it's probably around about 17 minutes in.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what, condo tells, are built out of and all of that stuff. And so I'm building a unit that cost me $200,000 to $250,000 to build.
Yeah.
Right? I usually sell it for $300,000. That's my margin.
Yep.
I don't do it for the margin. I do it because
You need a buffer.
I can get the unit. Well, no, I can get the unit and then I can rent it out.
Right.
We're usually renting out our units for about $1,500 a night.
All right. Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all inclusive, and there's a whole other thing. Go and look at aoapark.com, and you'll take a look, or go to Facebook and
Yep. Had a look at some of
you'll-
that. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
You'll
So
look
there's
at
a
some
there's a,
clarity.
what you're saying. There's a business model there that can work, but he's basically
100%.
yeah. Go on, say,
100%.
yeah. And I'm not.
Well, no, but what I'm trying to tell you is, not only could he have gotten it to work, because it's really easy to make it work. He was doing something that was maybe like, if you really wanted to spend a lot on the unit,
Yeah.
$70,000.
Right. And he's set up
And we
120.
were 120 to 150.
Yeah.
So there was ample margin there. He just literally didn't do the work.
Right.
And
And his
that's
brother.
what-
His brother was trying to keep up at one stage and couldn't.
His brother, I know that his brother was trying to keep up. I don't know if keeping up is the right term. He had this other company called Eco Builders or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think Eco Builders was the company he was using to take the money, even though he's claiming people. You could do yes, yeah. So he's just blocked me on LinkedIn. Oh, that's hard case. So that explains why it still comes up in the search engines. All we need to do now is find out why he deleted his Instagram account, and then we'll know everything. Because all these photos that you see here have been taken. So millions. Because one other interesting one was millions. For millions in debt. Because he talked about how if somebody was to take over, if somebody was to take over 3 or 4 million. So what he reckoned is that, and this is where I started to get a bit suspicious. Well, I'm always suspicious, but let's just go to this paragraph here. And I asked him basically if there's any money left that could potentially be equity left in Devlin's business. Let's have a listen.
My idea from the get-go was, at least what I thought,
New donation
he had
from
real
Lorenzo
assets
is
or
not a
has
victim
real
who's
assets.
complicit.
Again, I don't know.
He's
Scammer.
trying to sell them at the moment, apparently.
Thank you for that.
Correct. Which I think is good, right? So he should start paying back if possible.
Yeah.
But if the buyers would be able to go and take Triple G as an example, even though it would have to be reran,
Yeah.
that property could potentially be worth $3 to $4 million.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's true.
Yeah.
It's honestly true.
But has he
You
got
know,
that?
based
Has he
on-
got that in it though?
Well, here's what we found.
Yeah.
What we found was that Devon actually has a seller note on the deal. My assumption, and I can't tell you exactly, is about $2.5 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so on an asset basis, if you would sell it on a liquidation, you will most likely not get anything. It will most likely go back to the seller.
Right.
However, if ran correctly and ran year-round, which is possible in Essex, Montana, because you're right in West Glacier National Park, it's a huge park in the United States,
Yep.
you could potentially have something that could sell for $5 or $6 million, which would cover the 2.5, and then potentially have some left over.
Right.
Again, I am speaking for the individuals that I have talked to.
Alrighty. I don't know if you're following what's happening here, but from my perspective, I'm looking like, if we force Devlin to give up his resort we could take it over. I could own the resort, and I could also pay back all the victims. Do you get that? Sound too good to be true for Lorenzo? Oh my goodness. So that's a bit hard case. So hey, should we ring up Lorenzo and ask him why he thought it was a good idea to why has he blocked me on LinkedIn? And that might be a bit of fun. So we'll ring him up and we'll see if why he thought. He obviously we'll find out. Let's just ring him up and see why. He might not answer. Thank you for the donations as well. Much appreciated. He doesn't want to talk to me. But he wants to block me on LinkedIn. Imagine if I was like the New York Times and then I ring up and ask somebody a question and then they decide to block me on LinkedIn like I'm going to go away. You know, when somebody blocks me on the internet, I weren't going to play those recordings today. I weren't going to show you the record. I didn't need to. I've got it all covered in a blog. But when somebody blocks me on the internet, I go, well, if you're going to do that, all gloves are off. Also, there was a few things in there which will come to my mind and we'll go back to later on. But, like when I mentioned about Devlin having multiple bank accounts, he went, I'll tell you what he was doing. He figured out everything he was doing. And yeah, sure enough, as our suspicions. So what did we get from an hour with talking to Lorenzo? I spent an hour talking to him directly. To his credit, he talked and we questioned him about Global Glamping and his contracts and his involvement. He answered the questions. The longer the phone call went on, the more that we received. And there's no surprise that you didn't want to talk to me, Lorenzo. And, I've been doing this for 5 years and they all act the same. So why did Lorenzo go back? Because that's something you probably haven't picked up on. So he left PhoneSales and him at a Barney. PhoneSales sold 3 Global Glamping units. And then next minute, get this, Devlin sets up a company called PhoneSales LLC in another state. And he puts Lorenzo's name as a member on the documents. And Lorenzo says he didn't want that or didn't ask for that, didn't know about that maybe. I'm not sure exactly what he said, but it's in the if we ever have to pay his own admission back, we will. But you can make your own assumptions on that. Sound a bit fishy? Would you be associated with people that was doing business stuff like that? I wouldn't be. I would have ran 100 miles away from Devlin. Why did Lorenzo go back? One question particularly bothered me. If Lorenzo eventually believed there were no serious problems with Global Glamping, why did he go back? Have I said that right? Evidently believed there was no serious problems with Global Glamping. Why did he go back? Sorry, this is not said right, Danny. If Lorenzo evidently believed there were serious problems with Global Glamping, why did he go back? That's something I challenged him about. His explanation is part of a wider story trying to help purchasers resolve the situation. So he went back to the Lion's Den so that he could talk to the Lion and see if he could help resolve the situation. In the meantime, let's start my own camping park up. But it's still a legitimate question. One, you believe someone may seriously... I'm not going to read this right, but even though you can't see what I'm reading, I'll have to read it.
Once you believe something has gone seriously wrong, returning to work with the person at the center of it deserves scrutiny.
It does. So that got my curiosity back. That's explained in depth. Why did Lorenzo go back after he believed something was wrong? And so the next question a lot of people ask, how much did Lorenzo make? Now we have just snowballed an answer and we've come up with around about $300,000+ in commission, which is a good chunk of change to start up your own adventure park, no doubt. How much did Lorenzo make? When we get to the commissions, based on the records supplied to me, Lorenzo appeared to have earned more than $300,000 in commissions connected to Global Glamping sales. Doesn't prove that Lorenzo knew the project would fail, but it matters because we're not talking about someone standing on the sidelines. He financially benefited from selling the opportunity. In fact, the only people that have, well, other than Devon, the only people through the whole process, even sales, phone sales, hasn't made any money out of this yet. And some of the people connected with those sales are still trying to recover their money. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think anybody has recovered their money. In fact, I think there was one person that did win a lawsuit in my first article. However, he started paying and then stopped paying. So who cares if you win in court these days? You know what I'm saying? All right. So here's the beautiful park. Here's Lorenzo's baby. He's happy. He's sitting pretty. From Global Glamping to America Outdoor Adventure Park. Then I discovered what Lorenzo is doing today. He is a co-founder of the America Outdoor Adventure Park, otherwise known as AOAP, in, I'm not even going to try it, Alabama?
Oklahoma.
Nearly got it right. And AOAP is providing another high-value hospitality investment opportunity. This immediately caught my attention because Lorenzo has just spent more than an hour explaining what he learnt from Global Glamping. Now he's the founder involved at founder level in a business, asking investors to put substantial money into a hospitality business. So this is the business, and as I just showed you back through here, no, not through phone sales, here you can actually see it looks like it's been developed quite nicely. There it is. So it looks like we've now got all sorts of things popping up, and this adventure park is actually starting to get some basis. So it's his wee baby. Oh, goodies. It looks like, but he's poor because he's only getting $3,000 a month, but he's asked for that $3,000 a month for a reason, and we'll find that out. This is where Lorenzo's stories it took a turn that I wasn't expecting, and as we've just summarized, so you can invest $300,000, and then he claims that you can write off $1.2 million with your taxes and get paid every month. So, you know, the website describes a minimum investment and promotes it as a tax leverage. So I don't know anything about this because I'm not an accountant in America, but you can go through there and read all about it. So if I was to have a look at this opportunity, and I think I actually put a link in here, if it's still there, because Lorenzo might have blocked me from the website now, but whereabouts is it? Maybe I haven't got there yet, but this is what's on the homepage of the website. You get this beautiful offer. Invest $300K, and you're going to get a write-off, and you get one of these wee glamping things, okay? So that sort of got my interest. So you can read that section if you like, and we'll go on to the claim behind the AOAP. When we talk, this is where it gets particularly interesting. AOAP website advertises invest $300K up to 1.2 write-off, get paid every month. Now, the other day when I first started investigating, it was $250,000 and you could write off $1 million. So they've actually upped the ante a little bit. It also promotes 7% contract.
New donation from reviews. Park
Contractual.
misrepresented not all amenities.
Presented not all amenities. What are you saying there? Let me have a look at that. From reviews, park misrepresented not all the amenities. Oh. So you can basically read through what they're claiming you can write off. A substantial potential tax benefit. Now, I'm not calling AOAP a scam. Their website contains substantial disclosures and warns investors that they could lose the entire investment. But that's exactly why I saw both sides. The marketing sells what could go right. The disclosures sell what could go wrong. Now, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I put the website address in for this, but I don't see it handy. So I'm just going to go and hunt for it, because this website, some strange things have been happening. Because since I've talked, all of a sudden, I believe that we have new terms and conditions that have popped up. And I want to show you those. Salesman became an organizer. I thought I had it handy, and maybe I didn't. I do have it here somewhere, but I can't see it for looking because my links are very subtle. So let's go back to the picture and let's see if I can find the actual link. It's called investment something, and I probably can find it by typing in investment, but even I don't even know how to spell investment. So we're here. We're looking for a link that's blue in here. Come on, Danny. You know you want to. That must be in the first section then. Here, blue link, investment, American. No, let me just try and do my layman's investment. 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 There it is. I saw it pop up there. Investment Park. Thank goodness for that. All right. So this is an independent website, which is governed by Lorenzo. And when I went through this website, this is basically this isn't what Devlin was offering, but it's ironic that someone that used to work for PhoneSales, sell glamping, investment opportunities to people, broke their relationship with PhoneSales for whatever reason, then started working for Devon, realized that Devon was not delivering on what he was selling, went back and worked for Devon, now working for investors, trying to help them. But in the meantime, have I got an opportunity for you? And offering to give back the commissions when he can afford to do so. In the meantime, he's building his own enterprise here, which is doing really well, especially if you can charge somebody $1,500 for a night's entertainment and accommodation. What made me look at this website twice is when I got to the bottom, I realized they've actually, I'm pretty sure, I'm actually 90% sure that these terms and conditions have grown substantially. And they're normally terms and conditions are on a separate page, but I took the latest terms and conditions. I put them through my AI, and I asked it to examine the terms and conditions versus the marketing. So the marketing is quite exciting, because you read everything here and it's like, wow, I can do this, I can do that, and normal marketing stuff. But when the disclosure contradicts what's been sold, you've got to say, well, hold it, who reads the terms and conditions? Even Lorenzo said to me that, oh, no, it was PhoneSales actually said to me, no one will read everything. And I go, well, my guys will, because they've lost money and everything. So let's have a look at the claim beyond. So what he's claiming to provide the people, we're going to have a look at the next section here. And I'll go back to my notes. Hopefully, this is where it gets particularly interesting. American, what's it? I don't know why they have a park. America's Outdoor Adventure Park website advertises Invest 300, write-off 1.2 and taxes get paid every month. It also promotes a 7% contractual cash flow and a 23.9% IRR and substantial tax benefits, which, to be honest, not many investments, when you read through their website, not many investments that I see online will actually offer, well, actually, I lie actually. One of them was offering 3 to 8% return on investments per month. And the guy running that company, I'm on the way to Orlando soon to watch him be sentenced. He's facing he's pleaded guilty, stole $328 million, and now he's pleaded guilty and he's facing up to 50 years in prison. But he was offering 3 to 8% return per year. This one here looks like 23 or maybe 24% per year. Make sure you get those figures. And you do wonder how they get those figures. But if you read the disclaimer before you sign up, of course, you may actually get told contradictional story, a different story. I'm not claiming that AOAP is a scam. The website contains substantial disclosures and warns investors that they could lose their entire investment. Well, I didn't see that in the marketing. Attention, you could lose all your investment if you invest with us. No, but in the disclaimers, we cover our ass and we mention that. But that's exactly why I like to see both sides. The marketing sells what could go right, and the disclosures tell you what could go wrong. So what did I learn? I asked Lorenzo an important question when we got into the next section. What did Lorenzo learn from Global Glamping? Well, you may be surprised. This section asks the obvious question. If Lorenzo genuinely believes he was deceived during Global Glamping's with Global Glamping's association, what lessons did he take into America's outdoor adventure park? This time, he wasn't simply selling someone else's opportunity. As when we looked at the company, what we call AOAP identifies Lorenzo as the co-founder involved in operations and growth. So there's much less distance between Lorenzo and the underlying business name. I don't know why I'm saying it like that, but here's how the opportunity to demonstrate been alleged. That makes no sense. And I'm actually just going to go back to my basics. I'm just trying something different today because I didn't want to sit here and read the entire paragraph, but I want to read this one.
Lorenzo's position is that Global Glamping taught him painful lessons. He says he trusted Devon's representations, believed the existing resorts demonstrated that the model worked, and had no visibility over Global Glamping's internal finances. When problems emerged, he says he stopped selling, organized affected purchases, and turned his attention towards trying to recover their money.
Yeah, so all of a sudden he's got this active audience that want to invest in glamping, being bitten by Devlin, and then all of a sudden he's come up with a new opportunity where people can invest in a real company. So is he helping victims? Well, I'm going to say it. Or is he helping himself?
If that experience genuinely changed the way Lorenzo approaches investment opportunities, America's Outdoor Adventure Park provides an extraordinary opportunity to see those lessons being applied in real time.
Yep.
There are meaningful safeguards in AOAP's current offering. The website says it operates under Regulation D Rule 506(c), restricts participation to accredited investors, provides a private placement memorandum, and tells prospective investors that they should conduct their own due diligence and obtain independent financial, legal, and tax advice.
And please don't do it because somebody else in a suit tells you they're doing it.
But the marketing is also extraordinarily confident. AOAP tells prospective investors this isn't a concept, it's already running. It describes the resort as already built, already cash flowing, promotes an 80% plus peak occupancy figure for family cabins, and says investors don't need to worry about occupancy because of the contractual yield. It presents a $300,000 investment alongside a potential $1.2 million write-off, monthly contractual cash flow, and a 23.96% target IRR.
So how can you offer that on one hand and then give them a bunch of disclosures on the other? Well, let's listen to the disclosure side of it.
Yet AOAP's own disclosures acknowledge risks that sound remarkably familiar after investigating Global Glamping: construction delays, cost overruns, permitting issues, inaccurate revenue projections, insufficient operating revenue, and the possibility that contractual payment obligations could strain the company's cash flow.
So don't you see someone who's learnt from from Devlin, and then all of a sudden they're now covering their ass? So if there is snow on the ground, I assume you'll have your building halted, and you'll say it's in the disclosures.
That doesn't mean those problems will happen to AOAP. Risk disclosures exist precisely because businesses need to explain what could go wrong.
Right. And everything that Devlin's done wrong, he's put in his disclosures.
But Lorenzo's defense of his Global Glamping involvement repeatedly comes back to the same dividing line. He sold the opportunity, but Devon was responsible for delivering it. He presented information, but much of that information came from Devon. He worked with the contracts, but Devon controlled and signed them. He earned commissions, but Devon controlled the purchaser money.
Yeah. So I kept asking Lorenzo, did he write the contracts? And he kept saying, no, I didn't write them. But he edited them and added clauses in for the customers and then gave them to Devlin. And then Devlin admits that he doesn't read them before he signs them.
With AOAP, Lorenzo can no longer create that same distance between himself and the underlying operation.
Yeah, so the buck will stop with him this time.
AOAP's own website identifies him as co-founder and says he drives operations and growth, ensuring seamless execution across all departments while maintaining a strong focus on investor outcomes.
Right. So maybe if he's got his hands totally on operations of America's Adventure Park, then that's what Devon has failed to do, you know? But don't you think these commissions should be paid back? Rather than trying to help the victims, don't you think that these commissions should be paid back? Now, if you've got shares in your own company that seems to be doing very well at the moment, cash up some of the shares and give back the investors, because the investors aren't playing with house money. They're playing with their, one lady I know, she's playing with money she received for a disability she had, or she got in the workplace. She put all that money into this Devon thing. If she got 20% of the money that you received and took, I don't understand. I've got a big investigation going at the moment, and the clawbacks are outrageous. You know, like they're big. Every bit of money. One company called the Orlando Economic Partners took $200,000 for a scammer so he could advertise on their website. They actually agreed to give back $190,000 worth of that money. Because they thought it was the right thing to do. Why would somebody be building a business that seems to be thriving and then claiming to help victims who the majority of them, or a few of them, or one of them, two of them, three of them, four, I don't know exactly know, have actually been advised to actually sign up for this opportunity. And now you're off doing your own thing, claiming that you're living on breadcrumbs, building equity with your shares. That doesn't sit well with me. And the fact that you blocked me on LinkedIn doesn't sit well with me either.
That makes the lesson from Global Glamping particularly important. Lorenzo now has an opportunity to demonstrate that the person promoting the investment understands not merely how to sell the vision, but how to make sure the underlying business can actually deliver it. This time, the promises aren't coming from somebody Lorenzo works for. They're coming from a company he helped build.
Yeah. I'm just having a look to see if I actually had conversations with Lorenzo and wonder, yep. So initially, when I first contacted him, he renamed his profile. And then when I talked to him on the phone, he said, something must have gone wrong, wrong with such and such, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, his LinkedIn account started working again. Anyway, let's go. So what we're up to now, the business partners fell apart. When other business partners fell apart, let's have a listen to this. I think we're going to focus on this.
When another business partnership fell apart, the public record around America's outdoor adventure park added another layer to Lorenzo's story. In early 2025, public announcements presented Lorenzo Ayres and Michael Hyams as the people behind the redevelopment of the former Mid-America Outdoors property in Oklahoma. The plans were ambitious: cabins, additional accommodation, RV sites, off-road trails, pools, and a wider hospitality development designed to attract both guests and investors.
By April 2026, the partnership had deteriorated badly enough for America's Outdoor Adventure Park LLC and Lorenzo to take him to court. So even though he's got his own company looking pretty cool, he's taking one of his associates or his founders to court.
According to the court documents supplied to me, the plaintiffs alleged that Hyams had been removed as a manager for cause and accused him of unauthorized financial disbursements, writing company checks to himself, using company credit cards for personal expenses, interfering with operations, and threatening the financial stability of the business. They also alleged his conduct was affecting AOAP's ability to raise capital. These are civil allegations, not findings that Hyams committed those acts.
Yeah. So if you're raising capital, then why don't we get people to invest and tell them they can get some? What a messy business to have eventually, though. If you went to a campground and let's say there's 80 units, and each one of those 80 units is owned by an individual person, you'd have to have some amazing booking software, wouldn't you? So you could work out exactly how much dividends to pay out every month.
The following day, Lorenzo appeared before the district court in Delaware County, Oklahoma, without an attorney and gave sworn testimony in support of emergency relief. The court required a $10,000 bond and granted a temporary ex parte restraining order, with a further hearing scheduled. That order was temporary and was made before the court had heard the full case from both sides, so it should not be treated as proof of the underlying allegations.
What interests me was the chronological.
Only a little over a
chronology.
year earlier, Lorenzo and Hyams had been publicly presented as partners building the future of AOAP. Now Lorenzo was asking a court to restrict Hyams' access to company property, bank accounts, credit cards and digital systems.
That does not prove a pattern of wrongdoing by Lorenzo. Business partners fall apart sometimes dramatically.
But after spending more than an hour listening to Lorenzo explain how he had once trusted the wrong person at Global Glamping, another major partnership ending in accusations over money, control and business operations was difficult to ignore.
Yeah, now it's always the same. Every time we investigate an opportunity that's gone wrong, there's always the same pattern. There's all this, can't tell you, I can tell you this, I can't tell you this. No one's transparent enough just to chuck it all at me, except for PhoneSales. They chucked it all at me, which is very good. And they didn't make any money. Now, Lorenzo here, it doesn't want, he wants to go on the record, off the record, on the record, off the record, on the record, off the record, on the record, off the record. It got to be a broken record. What about, weird? Oh, there's the freaking link I was looking for earlier on. But let's keep, I'm going to read this because this is, this is the part of the blog that really made me think, is Lorenzo really squeaky clean? Is he a good guy? Because none of the investors that I know of actually think he's innocent or not guilty for his involvement in Devon. And it's taken the heat a wee bit off Devon. Now, we're not going to get them mixed up and say Devon is not doing the right thing. Devon looks like he's lost the plot over his depressed. He keeps getting sales in. He got in over his head. He can't swim anymore. I get that. But these sales guys, well, have they stopped? Has a leopard changed its spots? That's what I'm thinking.
When I asked Lorenzo about his own investment opportunity for most of our conversation, Lorenzo was relaxed and willing to talk at length. We discussed Devon, PhoneSales, the contracts, commissions and the purchasers who had lost money. He repeatedly encouraged me to concentrate on where Global Glamping's money went, and spoke confidently about his efforts to help affected purchasers.
I don't think he cares about the purchasers. And like Kerry just said in the chat room, he could get another job.
Towards the end of our conversation, however, I turned the spotlight away from Devon and started asking about America's Outdoor Adventure Park, and, specifically, the money Lorenzo himself had earned from Global Glamping.
Yeah, so I don't think it'd be fair for me not to actually look at that, because near the end of our conversation, what did we do? We had, I think we had a very good conversation. Someone making, right. I just want to make sure I'm not going to, I agreed not to, I had things off the record, you see. So I'm just going to see where we're up to on here.
And you have to essentially have shown that you have 2 years of that and an expectation of continuation, right? And or $1 million of net worth. And that's net worth, obviously, excluding primary residence.
Yep. So he's talking about approved investors, and that's what that 506C thing is about, that when you take on these investors, they must have money to invest and not be risking their milk money. But when I talked to him about the America Venture Park, he knew this off by heart. He started getting really familiar with what and how good this opportunity was. And to me, in my brain, I'm starting to think, well, hold on a minute, guys. Are you helping these victims because you are hoping they're going to invest in your park because of the disaster they had with Devlin? Are you also insinuating that you could actually buy Devlin out and pay back the money that investors have lost if that park was ran? So it looks like to me, if you're reading between the lines, and I read between the lines live, is that he's looking after his own interest. He doesn't really care about the victims. He's keeping himself lean financially so he doesn't have to repay the commissions, thinking that's going to protect him. All we need now is a class action lawsuit to go to Lorenzo and say, pay back the commissions, because you said to Danny DeHeck that you would. You also said that you have money in the America Outdoor Adventure Park in shares. They must be worth something. Maybe sell those shares to somebody, at least pay back the commissions. And if you're using PhoneSales as an example, they never received any commissions, and they got 3 sales in for Devlin. Devlin's got the money. I think he's waiting for Devlin's Triple G resort to go belly up. He's going to buy it for next to nothing, build it back up to something that's worth, in his words, $5 or $6 million, and keep the money for himself. And this is his stepping stool to his success. So is this guy really looking after the victims? Look, if I sold you something and I took the commissions and you never got the product, why would I be able to keep the commissions? Anyone put their hand up? Why does he think he's entitled to keep the commissions? He knew about the fallen relationship with PhoneSales. He carried on working with Devlin. Did he not know that Devlin set up PhoneSales LLC company? At what point did Lorenzo go, oh, this is a fraud? He even said, to his own admission, that once he realized that Devlin was running the fraud, he went back and worked with Devlin so he could figure out exactly what he was doing to help the victims. I don't think he's helping the victims. I think he's helping himself.
Every single one of our investors are 100% accredited. The vast majority of them are making anywhere between $1 million to $2 million a year.
Right.
Some of them are making $10 to $14 million. There are certain tax advantages of our deal that we have worked out with tax attorneys.
I actually forgot that you were there.
And this is when the penny dropped to me that I'd actually seen this website and I forgot that he owned it. So I didn't do my research as good as I should have. And I'm just going to put this back in the right place. So the penny drops for Danny and he's going, oh, I've actually seen this before. And then when I went back to it, it's gone up from 250 to 300K. And this is now 1.2 million. Well, you might as well make that $600,000 and might as well make that $2.4 million. Is that right? Is that what we're saying? So now he's saying that there's tax advantage. So basically anyone that's invested with Lorenzo has to have a turnover of $1 to $2 million a year. They have to have, I think it's $100,000 worth of a minimum investment of $100,000, something like that. I forget exactly what the law is.
I've seen your website, and that's where you basically tell people they invest $250,000 and they can avoid a horrible word to use, but $1 million worth of taxes or something. This is what you're talking about.
We have a tax opinion from a tax attorney.
A tax opinion now from a tax attorney. Wonder what his name is.
Yeah.
That states that they could potentially write off, depending on their situation, up to $1 million if they do invest $250,000.
Right. Yeah.
And that is because of the big beautiful bill and the ability of personal property for business use or real estate property to be depreciated down.
Okay, so I just clicked on something else. So the real estate property ability for personal property for business use. Now, when you buy these, when you stay, everyone's so close to the law. When you get one of these units, guess what you get as well? you get the right to occupy for 1 week a year. So you can go say, so that will probably be why they think he's ticked that box, because if it's going to be used for business use, you can tick that box. Is that just a guess?
Year one.
Because I was going
So
to,
here
when
you-
I saw that website, mate, I thought I want to investigate this whole website.
Well, I think you should,
Yeah,
and
I
you know you'll see that we have plenty of disclosures on there. We
Yeah.
have tax opinions,
Yeah.
and then on top of that,
So a tax opinion is a lame's way of, it's just an opinion, isn't it? It's not law. Shouldn't we have, I don't know, that big, beautiful bill, shouldn't that be in there?
what I would highly advise you to do is look at our info package.
Thanks for giving me advice.
Right.
Look at the attorney that has written the tax opinion letter, which used to actually be a special agent for the IRS.
Okay.
Yeah.
And has over 10 years of experience doing
Mate,
so.
my last individual that's getting 50 years in prison was shaking hands with Cash Patel and Michael Johnson and having dinner with the President of the United States in America. So, and
Well, look, I'm not saying associations. I'm not saying associations should give you a halo effect,
Yeah.
or should give you a evil effect. Right, goes both ways.
yeah,
But we have done what we believe that it's a more likely than not, and that's how we tell people as well.
right.
So it's
Yeah, it
it's
did
a
make my
more
toes
likely
curl.
than not.
I forgot that was you, but it did make my toes curl when I looked at that website and the claims on the front page. They just, they're like a red flag, not a red flag, a red cloth to a bull. There could
So
be a
if-
conflict
if-
of interest in a way. In a way, are you really working for the victims, or are you potentially trying to get an investor?
Right. I mean, I don't think a lot of the individuals that I have talked to, right, it might not necessarily be the right fit for them.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Because they don't have the money. Literally, the poor people have involved, some people I know only had $80,000 to their name and they've put everything in here. Now they're going for approved investors, where you've got to have $100,000 minimum to invest and be turning over with your husband and wife $1 million or $2 million a year. Not many people would fall into that category. So he's not going after those people, but he has found some big money in helping people recover their funds from Devlin's sales.
that
They got no money
the
left.
best. Well. I don't know about that. There's some of these individuals are well off, right? But what I would tell you is, any individual that is looking for a potential tax benefit that is backed by a more likely than not tax opinion letter by a verifiable attorney should take a look at it. The way that we approach our business is, not only do you need to like the deal, your CPA needs to also approve of the deal. So we always have a designated third party. Look, it's literally within our process. We have an introductory call. We have a
So at this point, I'm feeling like I'm getting a sales pitch. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing the real picture behind this whole sabbatical. And it seems like his interest is all about his own holiday camp. And he doesn't want to pay back the commissions from promoting somebody else's holiday camp. Well, he said he would, but he's got no money.
CPA call, and then we have a contracting call.
Have you
Those are
got
the
a
3 calls
customer
that we have.
that's been down that journey and done that?
Correct, yes. So we've had multiple investors at this point.
Yeah.
So they're very happy with the outcome, and so
Yeah. I'll have a
There you
closer
go.
look at the website again. But yeah, in the meantime, I think I'll stay focused on what I'm doing here today, and I think I've got enough to finish this article. There might be another article coming out again. It all depends. I started one article with that first guy I talked about earlier on, the Delgado. We've done over 100.
I said, at the end of the day, what I want the people that I have helped, okay,
Yeah.
get some type of outcome out of it.
Yeah. So the commissions,
Some sort of outcome out of it. Would you like to invest in my opportunity?
you would offer to pay those back, but obviously you don't have the money sitting there to do that. But that would be a quick solution for everyone, wouldn't it? But the commissions aren't going to fix the overall problem. It's just going to say that you wash your hands of it.
Well, no, I think, look, the way that my contract works with my own company is I have a $3,000 stipend to live on.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my negotiation with all of my limited partners. I said, okay, I'm going to effectively be the CEO of a company that has over 100 employees, and I will be the least paid on a per hour basis,
Mm-hmm.
as long as I get the vast majority of the shares.
The vast majority of the shares. Are they worthless? No. So if you want your money back, I would be definitely asking for the commissions back from Lorenzo. He said that he would pay them back, but at the moment he can't afford it because he's putting all his money into shares. How do you feel about that, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah.
And that was my deal, right, with my limited partners.
Yeah.
And so for me, obviously, $3,000 is not a tremendous amount. It would take me years to do that. It's not always going to be like that. But as we're growing, I believe that
That will help.
As we're growing, I believe that
if I would
Grow
like,
faster.
if what's up?
It will grow
What'd you say?
faster.
Well, we're hoping, you know. I mean, we did $1.5 million last year in revenue, and I think we're probably going to hit about $6 or $7 million of revenue this year.
Now, if I'm the CEO of a company that brings in $6 or $7 million, do you think the company could go get a loan for $330,000 and pay back all the investors that were promoted an opportunity of a lifetime to own a glamping, small glamping business that was going to give them amazing returns as per the advertising? I think the right thing to do would be get a business loan, Lorenzo, and pay back the commissions that you've taken to help build this park that you're now trying to sell business opportunities with. I mean, this isn't rocket science. I'm sitting here listening to this thinking I'm not the most educated person in business in the world. I'm ethical as friggin' hell. And here's this guy telling me that he's taking $3,000 a month wages, the smallest wage on the grabs. He's got 100 staff, but doesn't want to get paid, but I just want to get shares. Majority shares in the company. And that's how so that is payment.
That's all with bookings and stuff. And we're pushing to the corporate space as well. So we're doing corporate buyouts. That's going to be something that's going to be coming out pretty soon. We're hoping it's a big part of our business. So we're just trying to grow a hospitality brand as much as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And standpoint, we've been quite successful. You know, we grew from essentially having 0 following to 700,000 followers. I know that's usually not necessarily like, you know, the bellwether for business, but in the hospitality space and in the consumer space, that's a metric to look at.
And I'll tell you one other thing, talking about success and being successful when you've got years of investors that have lost their life savings probably isn't a good thing to mention in the same room because, you know, it's just human nature. You can't say you're looking like you're going to be a raving success when these people have lost everything. You know, some people have got their sickness, their veteran payout or their disability payout and lost it all. So they probably don't want to hear that stuff, mate.
Well, no, I understand. I'm not, you know, I'm having a conversation with you regarding what I am trying to achieve myself.
Yeah.
If you think it's off tone, then I guess it's off tone. But what I'm trying to say is, you know, you were effectively saying, hey, are the investors, you know, in good standing? Like, have you done this before? It is a startup, obviously. We're trying to do our best.
So the business
And
model,
I think we've been quite,
I get what you're saying, the business model potentially could have been there for Devon, but he's
I don't want to associate my business model with Devon's business model.
Right. So give back the commissions, Lorenzo. At least do that. Everybody sign a contract. Everyone go and use ChatGPT and demand that that Lorenzo, if he signed you up, pays back the commissions immediately in full within, 30 days. Because this guy's got money. He's just hiding where his money is. And I think that's not ethical. And I think if he truly means what he says and he's a man behind his word, and if you go back to these screenshots that we've got here, what people think of a 30-year-old CEO of a $30 million resort. So he's claiming he's a CEO of a $30 million resort. Whether he owns it all or whatever it is, I don't know. I don't care. But this is what he's put on his Instagram account that he's removed. Must be daddy's money. Easy when family is wealthy. He's too young. He doesn't have life experience. It was all inherited. He's only the face. So if you go to other ones, what people don't understand: homeless for 2 years, dad overdosed at 14, migrant from Italy, English is second language, worked 12 hours, 7 days a week since he was the age of 16. So now he's running a $30 million resort. I mean, bite me if you know what I mean. And it's just, I just think of if you're used to going through that much hardship, Lorenzo, then go through some more hardship, get a wee loany wony from the banky wanky, and pay back the people that you took the commissions from for promoting them what you seem to be doing yourself.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
get that. Yeah.
All right. So
But he could
I'm
have
an
done
all-inclusive.
He could have done the
Go ahead.
same. He could have done something. He could have finished these jobs and delivered the product, and he chose not to for
Correct.
some reason. We all don't know what's going on in Devon's head.
Correct. So, you know, we run an all-inclusive resort that the average ADR.
So we're getting pushed back to the sales pitch. I felt like this was a sales pitch when he kept on going on about I don't want to hear about your friggin' $1,000 a night resort, all-inclusive egg bin, whatever it is. I don't care about your resort. We're talking about victims that have lost money and through your sales pitch.
is literally $900 to $1,000 a night.
Yeah.
It's a very different business model than a self-serve mini resort across the country, right? So we're heavily concentrated. Jay, Oklahoma has zero hospitality. We are the only hospitality. I've made it so with, you know, strong advertising.
Yeah.
So my goal and duty is to help individuals that I, you know, even have, if I had a small impact, right, with the individuals that have lost money because of Devon. I want to help as much as possible. But at the same time, I also have a duty towards my 100 employees, my stakeholders and shareholders at this company. So, like I said, I only get paid $3,000 a month.
Get that? Isn't that great? I only get paid $3,000 a month, and our turnover is going to be $6 or $7 million coming up in the next 12 months. And I've got 100 employees. Are you telling me that you can't afford to take a business loan out and pay back $330,000 worth of commissions that you've received? I hope I've stressed that enough, Lorenzo. Otherwise, your name's, I'm just going to keep researching you. You know, and there's more to come, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't the end of this. The fat lady has not sung yet on this blog that we're reading. There's more to come about Lorenzo.
Per my contract. And once that contract is up, I will be much more willing to, you know, give those commissions back. Like I said,
Willing.
that I already written them off.
Yeah. Unless the courts.
He's already written them off, but he's not willing to give them back.
Unless the courts order you to sooner or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, like the courts as an example, we don't know what's going to happen in the courts.
You can sit there and hope.
No. All right.
A lot of people don't have the money to go to these courts, do they?
Mate. No, you've done well. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. I'll go have my
Appreciate your
breakfast
time,
now.
Danny.
All right, mate. You have a good day. See you, dude.
Yeah, so that wasn't the all of it. There was 1 hour and 45 minutes. I'm not going to bore you with that. You know, but so we went back to this investment that we've got here. He's got himself sitting pretty. He's got investment opportunities. He's got a website, which is all set up ready to take investors that have got. They'll have to invest at least $100,000, and those investors have to be turnover anything from $1 to $2 million a year to be able to invest in what he's offering. So he's learned a lot from his involvement with Global Glamping. And also, like I said, if you read the terms and conditions or the disclaimers on the bottom of his own website, they're actually quite breathtaking. If you read the marketing and then read the disclaimers, you would think that you're reading a different document. in here, the disclaimers are basically telling you, sorry, I haven't got the right screen on. So if you go back to the company here, you've got this great company with the pitch is that if you invest 300K, you can write off $1.2 million, only looking for accredited investors. You've got a sales team here, everyone's smiling, which is great. And then you've got these amazing terms and conditions, which if you read the disclosures, you'll realize that you're risking everything, but not if you read the first part of the website. So it's kind of batshit crazy if you really want my opinion. Anyway, what does that mean? So what have we got here? The next thing is another business partnership fell apart. The public records around American Outdoor Adventure Park added another layer to Lorenzo's story. So this is early in 2025.
In early 2025,
Oops. I already read this one. That makes sense. All right. So when I asked Lorenzo about his own investment opportunity, obviously his eyes lit up. So we are way up. Once the contract is up, I will be much more willing to do so. Give those commissions back. Oh, he's just all heart, mate. Victims don't see Lorenzo as a victim. So this is how the victims, when I've interviewed people, talked to people, this is how they feel about Lorenzo. So this isn't my words.
Lorenzo's explanation of his role is important, but the affected purchasers don't necessarily see him the same way. After parts of our recorded conversation were shared with the investor group, the reaction was strong. Several purchasers rejected the idea that Lorenzo should be regarded simply as another victim of Devon.
Yeah, so they rejected the claims. Yes, Lorenzo, they heard your recording.
Their perspective comes from direct experience. Lorenzo wasn't someone they discovered after Global Glamping collapsed. For some, he was the person they dealt with while deciding whether to invest. They remember his confidence in the opportunity and the role he played in getting their transactions completed. Whatever Lorenzo may or may not have known about Devon's finances behind the scenes, those purchasers regard him as part of the sales process that convinced them to proceed.
Yeah, his involvement with the American Outdoor Adventure Park has made that resentment stronger. Investors are still trying to recover money from Global Glamping, can now see Lorenzo building another hospitality business, holding substantial equity, describing ambiguous claims for growth, and at the same time he acknowledged that return of Global Glamping commissions from his current 3,000 monthly salary would take years. I mean, that's not good enough. It simply is not good enough.
There is an important distinction here. Anger from victims is not evidence of wrongdoing. I have not established that Lorenzo knowingly sold investments he believed would fail, and his later efforts to organize purchases and pursue Devon remain relevant evidence in his favor. But Lorenzo cannot define how the people he sold to should view his role. For some of those purchasers, the issue isn't whether Lorenzo eventually helped them. It is whether someone who profited from their original decision to invest carries a continuing responsibility when the opportunity he helped sell was never delivered as expected.
Yeah, so the next section is quite large, and I'm not going to read the whole lot, but it was about the company that opens its files. This section goes deeper into PhoneSales. Whatever anybody thinks about the commission model, when I approached the company, it did something incredibly useful for this investigation. It produced the evidence. PhoneSales opened CRM records, messages, contracts, recordings, timelines that included information that wasn't necessarily flattering for PhoneSales itself. The company disclosed that approximately 40% commissions, commission structure, and had acknowledged that the due diligence that they did could have gone further. PhoneSales says it had examined what appeared to be operating resorts, real guests, live bookings, and thousands of reviews. So they looked at everything that you see online and thought, well, it looks like a legitimate company. Do we really need to go into that? Now, ironically, we did offer our services to PhoneSales, basically saying next time you're going to be doing any dealings with an individual, we would love to do an open source intelligence investigation on them. And they said that sounds like a great idea because we never ever want it to happen, what happened with Devon again. But it did not independently verify the permits and the approval behind the specific projects they sold. So we're talking about the Stevensville complex. They didn't look into to see whether they were allowed to actually build projects. And this is why I said earlier on, if you're going to outsource your sales, you're going to run into problems. And as the sales team, how responsible is the sales team for doing all the due diligence of the person that gives you a signature? And I really do get that. And it says it ended its involvement with Lorenzo September 2024. So anyone that's got a contract with Lorenzo's name on it after 2024, we know that it had no association with PhoneSales. After concerns developed around the handling of leads, deals apparently closing outside its operation, and approaches being made to its contractors. So, as I said, that Devlin set up a company called PhoneSales LLC. Even put Lorenzo's name as a member on it. Lorenzo says he wasn't aware of it or whatever it was. He reckons he wasn't part of it. I have to take his word on that. But anyway, so they started going after the sales team. Now, I don't know what happened to Jack. Jack was working with PhoneSales. I have no idea, but he's left. He was the guy that was in that video that you saw. That timeline matters because selling activity involving Lorenzo appears to have continued after PhoneSales had left. Now, we know that PhoneSales broke their agreement, and also there was another individual, which I won't name, who I talked to on the phone. He said that Devlin was always on the phone talking to him how much money he was paying Lorenzo. None of that makes due diligence questions disappear, but accountability also requires proportions. Is that right?
Proportion.
PhoneSales opened its records and gave me evidence capable of testing its own story. Well, I'm not even saying that same. I'm so sorry about my reading.
Evidence capable of testing its own story.
Yep. So their own story was backed up by the evidence they produced, and that's exactly what I want from anybody involved in this investigation. Now, can you tell me if Lorenzo has done the same? Is Lorenzo going to hide behind the fact that he's going part of a class action lawsuit and he doesn't want to talk to a investigative reporter because he's worried it's going to ruin the case? Or do you think, shutting down Instagram accounts that you've got contributes, in this whole investigation? Do you think he's acting like an innocent party? That's an open question. You can answer it yourself. So that's really cool. So now the really, really weird part comes up is this part here. A second PhoneSales LLC appears in Montana. So PhoneSales is out of the picture, and all of a sudden, we now see another company with the same name appearing in Montana. Why would that be? Can you think of any reason why that would happen? Another company record appears. A second entry using PhoneSales name was connected to Montana. This section examines what corporate trail and how the entity fits into the wider relationship. Again, the purpose is not to imply wrongdoing because of another LLC that exists, but it's about establishing who was operating what, where, under which entity. So, that was something that the PhoneSales guys showed me, is this company. And I haven't actually put the screenshot in here, but I do actually have it. So I'm just going to do that for shits and giggles. But I think we actually have that screenshot of that company certificate. And you just have to ask, why the hell would they do that? Let's see. Oh, do I keep that as a separate document? Correspondence? No. I've got lots of screenshots though, which is really cool. State of... Yep, so we have got that one, and we've got that one and that one. So if we go down to... is this what I want? Limited liability. Allan Towle. sales. Yeah, this is it. So have a look at this. And I'm no good at reading these. Susie's better than me. Oh, Susie, nice to see you there. So here is a company that's been set up, the state of Montana. The name is called PhoneSales LLC. And then you come down here and you've got Devon Allan Towle's name. He's the registered agent. And then you come down here a bit more and you've got members, Lorenzo. So the relationship falls, I still can't process this. The relationship falls over of PhoneSales. Lorenzo used to work for PhoneSales. Now there's a company that's turned up with Lorenzo's name in it. Lorenzo reckons he doesn't know about this. But what would you think if you were looking up who owns this company? And maybe you were dealing with PhoneSales in the past. And then all of a sudden he just starts up a company's name with the same names as an existing company. I mean, it's just shady as they come, guys. I mean, really. Anyway, so that was what appeared in that, which is really cool. This one here is quite interesting. So this is just to show there's a history here. You would expect somebody that seems to have so much knowledge about finances to be qualified. Well, through our research, Lorenzo's previous employment raised another question. Listen to this.
While examining Lorenzo Ayres' background, I found another document that deserves to be included in this investigation, not because it proves anything about Global Glamping, but because it provides additional context about his previous employment in the financial services industry.
Yeah, so you'd expect somebody with this much knowledge of financial services to be potentially a regulated financial advisor, wouldn't you? Or some connection. Let me show you.
An official investment advisor public disclosure, IAPD, report for Lorenzo Ayres, CRD number 6,749,765, shows that he was previously registered with Fidelity Personal and Workplace Advisors in American Fork, Utah, between August 2018 and August 2019. The report states that Lorenzo is no longer registered as an investment advisor representative and records one disclosure event involving a termination.
So why do you think he got terminated? Well, I can't tell you. You got to listen. Here we go.
The disclosure was reported by Fidelity Brokerage Services LLC. According to the record, Lorenzo was discharged on August 8, 2019. The allegation recorded by Fidelity reads, allegation regarding whether employee did not pay for food from firm's cafeteria. I want to be precise about what this document does and doesn't establish. The disclosure records an allegation reported by Lorenzo's former employer in the fact that he was discharged. It does not say Lorenzo was convicted of theft, doesn't document a criminal charge, and doesn't provide a finding that he stole anything. The IAPD itself warns readers that disclosure information can include allegations that may be contested, unresolved, or unproven.
Yeah. So basically this whole document states that he got fired because he didn't pay for the food he took from the cafeteria. I don't know what sort of cafeteria it is, but anyway, we thought we'd add that in there just to show you some of the stuff that we do research and we find up. The paper trail around Lorenzo, all right? So here we go. By this stage, Lorenzo's involvement wasn't dependent on anybody's opinion. His name appeared in communications and agreement. He acknowledged his participating in preparing and editing documents, and Devlin recorded statement confirmed that the agreement arriving through DigiSign were being signed by him, apparently without always checking things closely. So everyone was lying on everyone else if you really want the real side of it. So the paperwork helped separate the responsibility. Lorenzo participated in sales and contracting process. Devlin ultimately signed agreements on behalf of the business. So that's basically what that section was all about, and that's really, really cool. So when the salesman became the organizer, when Lorenzo's role changed, things started going wrong. He became involved in organizing affected purchases. This role is central to his argument. that is eventually become someone trying to help rather than someone simply who had sold an opportunity. So you become the seller and the helper. And I think that deserves to be acknowledged. But helping victims afterwards doesn't automatically erase questions of what happened beforehand. So that was that section. Next section was when the settlement that was supposed to make buyers whole. So at one stage, there was an attempt to resolve some of the disputes through a settlement. The idea was supposed to move purchasers towards being made whole. But according to the evidence I reviewed, those promises also ran into problems, and the settlement was allegedly defaulted upon. So even after the original project failed, another layer of promise emerged. A purchaser were left waiting again. So even though they claimed that they fixed the problem, Houston, it didn't resolve it and we're back to square one. So Devon explanation, is that what we've got? Explanation kept changing. Throughout this investigation, Devon was offered numerous explanations for what went wrong. There had been references to permitting contractors, natural disasters, of course, and other operational problems. One of those circumstances may be legitimate factors, but as more documents and witnesses emerged, I found myself repeatedly comparing those explanations against the underlying records, because the explanation did not replace the evidence. So that's what that section was all about. He was just like we saw in that video just a few minutes ago when Devon was sitting there. He was trying to wake himself up and he didn't really know what the meeting was all about. And he's trying to distance himself from Mickey Mouse versus Pluto. It's all bullshit, really. I mean, yes, Devon does seem to be the person committing the fraud, and everyone can point their fingers at Devon, but really, it's not just Devon, is it? I mean, imagine I've never seen anyone get their money back from anything that I've done in the way of trying to recover funds yet. And hopefully I will see some of that. Some things take years and years and years. Annoyance is not an excuse in the eyes of the law. Ignorance, sorry. Yes. Willful blindness, I always like to mention. Devon, as the CEO, has the responsibility to know what was in those contracts. Certainly does. And that's from a victim. Well done, you. The people who actually lost the money. Throughout this investigation, almost everyone involved at some point described themselves as being on the receiving end of somebody else's action. So there's no accountability here at all. PhoneSales says it lost money running the campaign and later discovered leads had been diverted. Lorenzo says Devon misled him and that he eventually began helping purchasers pursue him. Devon has pointed towards third parties, business problems, and circumstances he says contribute to Global Glamping's failure. So no one's responsible for everyone losing their money, and you see them driving around in a nice sports car or putting it into a luxury business, let's just say that. But there is one group whose losses aren't theoretical. They are the people who actually handed over the money. Following publications, PhoneSales contacted me specifically about this point. The company said its original response to my questions had deliberately been kept clinical and evidence-focused, but it did not want that approach to be mistaken for indifference towards the people who lost money. PhoneSales says it genuinely sorry for what happened to those purchasers and believes their losses rather than argues over the commission. So they have basically forfeited any money that they could have made, should have made, and showed condolences to the victims. And that's the most important part of this story. I think that clarification deserves to be recorded. So hey, I don't like the idea of the 40% commissions. I do understand it takes a lot of time and energy to get sales over the line. But when you're dealing with larger items like $200,000-$300,000, you think there must become a point where you need to actually do more due diligence. And they did put their hand up and say they should have done. They looked at the operation they saw and thought it was a legitimate, well-established company. So I get it both ways. But they did also not take any money. And we are focusing on Lorenzo here.
One couple who contacted me invested $120,000 through Blue Ocean Mountain LLC after initially dealing with Lorenzo. They told me they received none of the promised revenue sharing and eventually managed to get Devon onto a Zoom call. At one stage they were offered a refund, but chose to remain with the project because they still believed it could succeed. When nothing improved, they accepted a later refund offer. According to the records they provided me, only $4,000 of their original $120,000 had been returned.
Yeah, so you can't win, eh? Oh, good. Okay, we'll agree to settle, and then they get $4,000 back. It must be gutting.
That detail tells an important part of this story. These weren't people who transferred money and immediately regretted their decision. They waited, they asked questions, they accepted explanations and gave Global Glamping repeated opportunities to deliver. Even when offered a way out, they initially chose to stay because they still believed the project could work.
Yeah, other purchasers I've spoken to with described variations of the same journey. The amounts and the properties differ, but the progression is familiar. Money was paid. Expectations were created, delays followed, and explanations were offered. Explanations were offered. Eventually, the question changed from when will my investments start producing revenue to how did I get my money back? And that's why I don't want the human story buried underneath the arguments between Devlin, Lorenzo, and PhoneSales. Because that's really sad. I mean, some things are just sad. Their disputes help explain how Global Glamping operated. The commissions, contracts, sales agreements, and what's that one? Allegations about diverted leads all matter. I'm not reading that right. But ultimately, those aren't the losses that brought me into this investigation. The purchasers aren't arguing about who deserves the commissions. They're trying to recover the principal. It is really, like the way I see it, if the law was swift, they would go in there and they would say, right, Devon, you did all these contracts. You have a $2.5 million asset sitting there. We're going to liquidate it. And the person that buys it, that money can go back to paying back all the people that invested in this opportunity. If you get 65% of your money back, it's going to be better than getting nothing back. But at least that will give you closure. But instead, what we have to do is, bitch, moan, push, expose, for years. And it's just so painful and it's depressing and it's our lives that we are wasting here. This isn't good juju for me either. I don't like doing this. I don't like Lorenzo blocking me on LinkedIn. I don't like, make sure that we're walking on eggshells around PhoneSales, who's trying to make sure that they've been helpful and their story's accurate. And, they want to make sure, and I'm walking around on eggshells here just thinking, where do I fit in here? This isn't positive. Even if I'm just reporting the story, from the hand on my heart, this is actually quite sad and it's frustrating. And I just hate the system. And I wonder why people don't swoop people up like my Avengers and myself who investigate this stuff hours on end and actually do swift, why don't they just bring people all into the room, it's called a courtroom, and do things differently than they are at the moment, rather than dragging this out for years and years and years. So this section here, before I drag this whole blog out years and years and years, I want to answer that part. The question is where the money went. And this probably isn't the single biggest unanswered question. sorry, I'll reread that. This is probably the single biggest unanswered question. Where did the money go? How do commissions? We know where the commissions were. We know the commissions were paid. We know purchase money entered the wider global glamping operation. We know projects weren't delivered as expected. But I still haven't seen a complete forensic accounting showing the journey of those funds. The phone sales confrontation illustrates exactly why that is necessary. Ultimately, I want to see the bank records. So if you are claiming that you've been scammed, Devon, then show us the bank records and let's get into it. You know, we're up to due diligence that wasn't done. This section that we're looking at here asks what checks were actually performed before people started selling these projects. And we now have a clear answer from PhoneSales. The company says it was looking at what appeared to be operating a proper resort, real guests, live bookings, and thousands of views. Those things help create confidence in global glamping and that it was a genuine operating hospitality business. But PhoneSales has also acknowledged something important. It did not independently verify permits and approval behind the project that was being sold. And that distinction is critical. An existing resort can prove that someone has operated accommodation before. It cannot prove that another site has zoning, permits, water, wastewater, infrastructure, utilities, and financials or approvals necessary to deliver the next project. And that's actually quite a big thing, because what we're saying here, what was being pictures, I think it was Stevensville. I don't know where that is, so I might have everything wrong. But, you know, if you were going to say, we're going to go build, actually, I can't use this example because I'm thinking of something local, but if you're going to start a project and you're going to say, we're going to put a glamping ground on that place, you would think you would first want to know about the town planning and, you know, what, like some areas, especially in America, I know it's crazy, you've got 50 states and they're all different, like countries of their own. But in New Zealand, we're not allowed to, you know, have open fires anymore. We're not allowed to drill in some areas for water. We know a lot of people have wells and that's where they get their water from. You've got to have strict management on effluent and what you do with that. So surely it would have been, you know, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but as PhoneSales mentioned, you know, looking back, they said that they should have invested a little bit more time and energy, and at least they've owned up to a little bit of responsibility, even though they've not made a cent out of this. So I'm not suggesting every salesperson needs to become a planning lawyer or a construction expert, but when people are committing six-figure sums based on representations about future developments and revenue, someone needs to be independently verify the fundamentals. A convincing business can create confidence, but confidence is not the same as due diligence. So that's that section, in case you're wondering. Global glamping wasn't entirely imaginary. There were real hospitality operations. There were properties and guests, and that matters because something real can make a much larger opportunity appear credible. So this section separates what generally exists and operates from a purchaser when being told would exist in the future. So yeah, so I think that section was just saying what was actually operating, and maybe that gave people confidence to invest, especially when they were about to get involved with the Stevensville project. You know, because it's been done once, it can be done twice. But that whole project looked like it was never going to get off the ground. If you did a bit of due diligence, it may have saved a whole lot Nice to see everyone here in the chat room. Really do appreciate the support. I'm in a bit of a trance at the moment. I need to get up and go for a walk or get a drink of water, but sometimes you just got to carry on. So the section 27, this one here, it goes on. It says we looked at permits. Then I looked at permits and development authority. Selling someone a future hospitality asset is one thing. Actually having a legal and what's that word there, Danny?
Practical ability to construct and operate it is another.
Yeah, it's like I'm going to build a 21-story building in a national park. I don't think the national park will let you, Danny. Oh, we're already selling it. So that's what I'm talking about. This section examines what Global Glamping was actually authorized to build versus what purchasers believed they were buying. So the authorization to build wasn't anything like they were actually doing, were selling. You know, it's just absolutely crazy. Just like I said, imagine going to a national park and seeing a sign up saying they're going to build a 21-story building. It's going to have a swimming pool and helicopter pad, and they're going to take people for hunting tours. And then you realize that they can't do that in that park. Because of the environment or whatever it is. All right, so we're up to section 28, I think it is. The existing resort helps sell the dream. This is important psychologically. Devlin wasn't pitching from an empty shell. There appeared to be real estate, properties, real guests, live bookings, thousands of reviews, and accommodation that could actually be booked. Lorenzo visited properties himself. PhoneSales says that visible operating footprint formed part of the checks and performed before becoming comfortable with Global Glamping campaign. So PhoneSales wasn't simply looking at a pitch deck and taking Devlin's word on everything. There was something real behind the story, and that made that come next. Oh wow. I'm going to read the next two lines.
And
as
that
well.
made what came next much easier to believe. But this is the crucial distinction.
Let's read this.
An existing resort cannot prove that a different site has the permits, infrastructure, financing or capacity required to deliver another project.
The purchasers weren't paying for what Devlin had already built. They were paying him to deliver what came next. So number 29 is this one, and that one is contracts made the promise look concrete. And then there were the contracts. These weren't simply casual conversations about what happened. Agreements described obligations, development, and revenue agreements. And remember, Devlin recorded a mission. Anything that comes in through, I just sign it. Oh, God, that's terrible, isn't it? Since those documents were signed, the sales trips become something much more significant. It may be once those documents were signed, the sales pitch becomes something much more significant. It became a contractual promise. Oh my goodness. All right, so we're now up to number 30. What have we got? Number 30 says when refunds becomes another promise. When the project was delivered, some purchasers were asked for their money back. When the funds themselves become another promise. And some people waiting for the project simply for some people waiting for the project simply turned into waiting for a repayment. This is another pattern I wanted to document because the original failure wasn't necessarily the end of the financial damage. So even though they promised to give people's money back, it didn't happen. And it's just horrible. Sorry, I'm not reading very well today, but we've got when the dispute reaches the court. So yes, it has been to the courtroom. Eventually, some disputes move beyond emails and phone calls and entered the legal system. Courts proceedings provided another independent source of information because now we are not simply dealing with social media accusations and angry customers. Claims are being formally documented and contested. That legal history forms another layer of the Global Glamping sales. So have a read of that section. That was a pretty cool one. 3 stories that set the record. Now, by I effectively had three narratives. Devlin had his explanation. Thank you very much. It was very nice to have a yelling competition with you on the phone. Lorenzo had explained his, very methodical, and tried to cross every T and dot every I. And he also stalled by not replying back to me and ghosting me. So if you want to deal with Lorenzo, do not deal with Lorenzo. He will ghost you when it all goes wrong. He has removed me from his LinkedIn. He took 10 days after promising me he would reply to me over the weekend. It took another week before I got a response from him. Eventually, he realized I was putting so much pressure on him, he decided to ring me. And I'm good at my phone calls, so we recorded the phone call, and that's what we were listening to earlier on. So if I was doing business with Lorenzo, it wouldn't happen because I would read my blog and see that this guy will just hide from you and avoid the truth. This guy, in my opinion, is a coward. Okay, because that's what you do when you try to hide, and that's what I'm getting at. So anyway, PhoneSales had its explanation, and I must say I take my hat off to PhoneSales. As much as I don't like the 40% commissions, they handled this matter A-class. So thank you to them. But these aren't three people or organizations with identical roles. They operated at different times, they had different responsibilities, and a different level of control. And my job isn't to simply choose whatever I like the best. It is to place those stories alongside the same contracts, the CRM records, the recordings, the communications, and see what part survives contact with evidence. Survives contact. Part survives it, right?
Survive contact with the evidence.
Survive contact with the evidence. Not the terminology I would normally use, that ChatGPT. Maybe you make my life hard today. What Lorenzo wouldn't put on record. Boy, I've got to get that right. The good stuff here. Lorenzo spoke with me for more than an hour 24, but there were still matters he wouldn't put on record. That matters as well. I'm not going to turn someone declining to discuss something into evidence or guilt, but when you are conducting an investigation, it's important for readers to know where the answers stop. Now, your actions speak louder than words. So write a reply. Everybody that was mentioned in this article had a chance to have a reply. Everyone criticized?
Criticized.
Yeah, everyone criticized this investigation. Everyone criticized, it's not the word I would use. Everyone criticized in this investigation had an opportunity to respond. Devlin had provided explanations. Lorenzo sat down and spoke with me at length. PhoneSales supplied the records, and PhoneSales continued engaging with me after the investigation was published. So just last night, I updated this blog to reflect more accurate information, and we're still prepared to do that. It provided additional context, acknowledged shortcomings of its original due diligence, and raised legitimate concerns about the privacy of purchases identified in the raw recording. So that was brilliant. I acted on those concerns and removed the MP3 file that was public. Now it's not. That is how a right of reply should work. It does not mean criticism automatically disappears. It means that someone supplies evidence or information that provides the accuracy and proportionality. What was that?
Proportionality
Of my own reporting. I update the reporting. This is a live document, and I will update it where necessary. And that right of reply doesn't appear because I've published it. Doesn't disappear because I've published it. If someone can show me that something is factually wrong, give me the evidence and I will correct it. That's what we do here. So number 35 is the next one, what the evidence established. And I actually want to read this one because it's quite a mouthful. Let's get into it.
After working through the contracts, CRM records, communications, court filings, purchaser accounts and recorded conversations, there are some things I can say with confidence and others I cannot.
I see your face on 100% TV screen. You've got me on the big screen. Are you doing a Christopher Delgado broadcast me on the big screen?
The evidence establishes that purchasers paid substantial sums to Global Glamping for projects that, in multiple cases I have examined, were not delivered as contracted, expected revenue wasn't paid, refund promises weren't fully honored, and a later settlement intended to resolve claims was itself allegedly defaulted upon.
Yep. Evidence also establishes that PhoneSales formed part of the Global Glamping sales operation for a period of months, generated leads, providing sales infrastructure, and working with prospective customers. But scales matters. PhoneSales says 3 completed sales were reported to during the entire engagement, and I have not established that PhoneSales was responsible for the wider pool of Global Glamping purchases or losses examined through this investigation. PhoneSales ended its involvement 2024. The material I have reviewed indicates that selling activity involving Lorenzo Ayres continued after PhoneSales had left the operation. Are you telling me that Lorenzo wasn't privy to what happened with PhoneSales? Big silence. Right, what else have we got?
The evidence establishes that Lorenzo sold Global Glamping opportunities and received substantial commissions, while Devon Allan Towle controlled the businesses responsible for delivering the underlying projects.
Yep.
Those are different roles, involving different periods of time, different levels of responsibility, and different questions of accountability. They should not be treated as interchangeable simply because all 3 names appear in the same investigation.
So don't you think, now I'm just going to be ad lib here, and it'll probably get me in trouble one day, but I do it anyway, and you know me. But you imagine that, what story do you think Devon told Lorenzo about the relationship breakdown with PhoneSales? Can you imagine this? Are you saying that Lorenzo never knew that the contractual agreement they had with PhoneSales broke down to some degree? What did Devon say? I don't want to pay the 40% commission. Oh, they're trying to rip me off. Why don't you do my sales for me? And then Devon goes, I'm going to set up a company called PhoneSales LLC in Montana. And Lorenzo goes, yeah, I've got no problem with that. Yep, I'll keep working for you. I'll keep selling you, and we'll do it. We'll do it. Let's do this. Are you saying, Lorenzo, that you had no knowledge of any shady activity that Devon was doing? Did you not find that shady? Were you not aware that the relationship between PhoneSales had broken down? You used to work for PhoneSales. You'll do whatever it takes to get ahead, and you haven't given the commission back. So if I've put any guilt on you for not giving the commissions back, I've done a good job today. Because that's what it's all about, guys. We're not going to get, if Lorenzo searches for his name, he will now have this video associated with him until he does the right thing. Now, if Lorenzo gives back, if Lorenzo decides to give, oh, thank you very much for that. If Lorenzo decides that he's going to give back the money, then we will update that as well. I mean, that's not, but here's a guy, what people think of a 30-year-old CEO of a $30 million resort. Cut that ribbon. How exciting is that? It's all good for you. And, let's think about this. If I'm going to go search for Lorenzo Ayres on the internet, where have we got Lorenzo? What do we see coming up now? We see a LinkedIn profile that I'm not allowed to view anymore. We see a Facebook page which has had all the images shut down. And then, look at this. Global Glamping exposed. Devon Towle, Lorenzo. Oh, I'm interested to know what that's all about. And you click on it, and we get a denial server attack at the moment. Don't know what that's all about. And there we are. And now we're reading about Lorenzo's involvement with Devon. And we've got PhoneSales.com. It's going to be a good thing there. And we've even got ourselves a rock song along the way. Anyway, so just saying, Lorenzo sold Global Glamping opportunities, received substantial commissions. Yes, he did. Those are different roles, involving different periods of time, different levels of responsibility that different questions and accountability. They should not be treated as unchangeable simply because the three names appear in the same interchangeable simply because the same names appear in the same investigation. What the evidence does not establish. Now, I'm going to read this because this is like a disclaimer. So this is me in my disclaimer when I do my article.
I cannot say that every person involved in selling Global Glamping knew the projects would fail. I have not established that Lorenzo knowingly deceived purchasers, nor that PhoneSales knowingly marketed an opportunity it believed to be fraudulent.
Oh, I didn't actually read that. Who was your sales? I see that message coming in, and thank you very much for the $5 super chat. That was pretty cool. My sales agent who sold me the dome did not get paid by Lorenzo and Devlin. You will save that. Oh, right. And was are you willing to say that name? Oh, my pants have got too tight. Yeah, that would be cool to know that. Feel free if you do have any information to message me anonymously. I can always join the dots. But if you go to my website, it's just theheck.com/contact, and you can send me anonymous information if you want to tell me who that is. It might help with our jigsaw puzzle. And thank you very much for telling us that. That really makes a huge difference. So let's just read this paragraph.
In PhoneSales case, the evidence now provides additional context. The company says it examined what appeared to be operating resorts, real guests, live bookings and thousands of reviews, but acknowledges that it did not independently verify the permits and approvals behind the projects being marketed. That leaves a legitimate question about whether its due diligence was sufficient, but insufficient due diligence is not evidence that PhoneSales knew the projects would ultimately fail.
Yeah. Also, cannot yet provide a complete accounting of where every dollar paid. This is where the money goes. We always love asking that question. Where did the money go? That last question remains the most important. We are, I'm going to read it.
There are competing explanations about who knew what, when relationships broke down and who should carry responsibility. Those disputes matter, but they shouldn't distract from the facts that can be documented.
Yes, money was paid, contracts were signed, obligations were created. Some of those obligations were not fulfilled. Nor should subsequent cooperation erase earlier questions. Woof, that's a big mouthful. So PhoneSales keeps coming up in this. I'm going to read it.
PhoneSales' decision to open its records, acknowledge shortcomings in its due diligence and assist this investigation deserves recognition. It does not make the original due diligence questions disappear, just as those questions do not make PhoneSales responsible for conduct they have not established it participated in.
So, from an investigator's point of view, PhoneSales really did impress me. I had negative feelings about them, and maybe you do too. Not because they are, I don't like sales companies, I'll be true, but the way they acted and the information they provided, the transparency they gave me, I actually quite like them. And I don't think I've ever said that. I do. I actually think that's actually quite a cool, I don't know. It's just the whole way they interacted with me was amazing. They are good salespeople. They are good negotiators. They gave me everything I wanted, and we had long emails back and forth. And I even changed some of my blog to make sure that I got my information more accurate. And I even removed something that they told me that they didn't say I couldn't use, which I did use, and I removed MP3 of the conversation we had with Devlin, which they provided me. Which is pretty cool. And they took a few days, maybe a week or so to get back to me in some cases, but they said that they kept in touch with me. They told me they were digging deep. They put together a whole drive, folders, what do they call it? A Google, a Google Docs for me. So first class. Wish all investigations were that easier. Anyway, until the evidence is produced, I will continue discussing what I can prove and what people allege and what remains unanswered. So that's really what. So accountability. This is probably going to repeat some of the stuff that we've already covered. However, that's why I've decided not to read that one. But what we are going to do is give you a summary of this next section so you guys don't fall asleep on me, because even I'm getting a bit sleepy-weepy here. Accountability doesn't end with Devlin. Devlin sits in the center of Global Glamping. So yes, at the end of the day, the man that's been thrown under the bus the most is the person that deserves to be ran over by the bus, and that is Devon. There's no doubt about that. This company entered into the agreements and carried the responsibility of delivering the projects. But that does not mean everyone else is automatically disappears from this story. When an opportunity raises substantial amounts of money, I believe it is legitimate to examine who promoted it, who sold it, who prepared the paperwork, who earned the commissions, and what due diligence was performed. You can't just say, I'm going to sell flights to the moon and then not research whether that's feasible that we can fly to the moon. All right. But it also, okay. So obviously we've got PhoneSales. We know they've done 3 sales. So what? Let's just say it acknowledges due diligence should have gone further. That's what PhoneSales says. But it also says it ended the relationship back in 2024. It didn't continue doing the sales. When serious concerns developed, like they confronted the owner of the company and said, we can't, you have been paid, where's the money? And he said, I don't know. And when I later investigated what happened, PhoneSales opened its records. Lorenzo's story is different. He continued to be involved after PhoneSales had departed. He received substantial commissions and later says he became involved in helping affected purchasers pursue Devon. Those roles are different. Those levels of responsibilities are not necessarily equal. And none of them should automatically be treated as interchangeable simply because their names appear on the same investigation. Accountability is about something much more precise. What did each person know? What did they personally do? What did they earn? What checks did they perform? What did they do when things started going wrong? Not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's a very fair question. Did they carry on, or did they start thinking that they could potentially buy this business from Devon and then turn it into a business for myself? That's what I reckon happened. I wasn't going to say my opinion, but that's what I reckon. That's what I see here. What I see is I believe that Lorenzo was hoping that he would be able to take over Devon's business and then build it up to something amazing with his expertise, and then one day pay back the investors that help him get there. I don't know. Is that too far to ask? Is that what's happening? The FBI will love that information. Oh, good. Yeah, well, funny enough, Lorenzo is meant to be helping with the FBI investigation. We'll figure that one out. Publishing this does not mean I've finished. There are still unanswered questions. There are still records I want to see. And most importantly, I want to complete the accounting of the purchaser's funds. I'd love to see the real bookworks. If more insiders, purchasers, or people with direct knowledge have evidence, this investigation can continue to develop. And as PhoneSales has demonstrated, if someone supplies new evidence or legitimate context after publication, I'm prepared to update my reporting when the evidence warrants it, not every 10 minutes. I don't update with opinions, I update with facts, and that's what we do. So have a read of that section. And then did we get to the people who paid deserve the last word? Did I miss that part? The people that paid deserve the last word. Number 38. Where did that go? Number section 38. We've got a muck up here, I think. That's not right. We didn't go that far back, did we? No. We're looking for the investigation is far from over. Where's the last word? Oh, there it is. After all the contracts, commissions, sales records, lawsuits, explanations, and compelling versions of events, it's easy to lose sight of the people who matter the most in this story. The purchasers. Oh, dear. And this is where I want to finish the video. It's very easy for the story to become consumed by arguments about Devon, Lorenzo, fail sales, commissions, sales agents, and who blamed who. But those people and organizations did not necessarily have the same role or the level of responsibility. And ultimately, none of those arguments could become more important than the people who actually paid the money. Some purchasers trusted the marketing, they trusted the contracts, they trusted the people selling the opportunity. And years later, some are still trying to understand what happened to their money. So after all 38 sections, all the interviews, all the contracts, all the recordings, and all the compelling explanations, I keep coming back to a simple question. Does anyone know what that question is? Where did the money go? What was it used for? It definitely wasn't used to make a better glamping ground, because eventually those explanations have to stop. The contracts can be examined, the commissions can be calculated, the project can be inspected, and the money can be traced. Show us the bank records. That's where I believe the real answer to global glamping can be found. So I think that is a very tiring blog for me. It's not my longest broadcast ever, by no means, because I did 3.5 hours yesterday. But that there is a one marathon of a blog, and it's taken a long time to research it. And you can see I've even put an index in here to help people, to help you get through all this information. So I think going forward, what would be really neat would be to if Devon believes that he's a victim and he's really stuffed up, then own up. And I would, hire a forensic accountant to go through everything and find the answers. Now, why do I say that? Because I've just taken over my mum's estate, and my nephew has probably done a good job, don't really know. And I've taken over like 2.5 years of the estate. I just basically walked into an accountant and gave him the bank account. I gave him all the receipts and gave them all the everything and just said, sort this out. And had to pay a little bit of money for it. At the end of the day, I'm now, after this live, I'm going to go back to that accountant and go, what did we find? And I'm going to trust the professionals. And that's what we do. We've gone past trusting Devon. We've gone past trusting Lorenzo. We've gone past even trusting PhoneSales. We don't need to trust you guys anymore. You've all committed wrong. You've all fucked up. And now you want to help? I mean, okay, so PhoneSales, yeah, they've stuffed up. They've admitted they've stuffed up. They didn't take any payments. They provided us all the receipts, all the paper trail, the CRMs, the whole 9 yards. As far as, and they've admitted they had 3 sales and never got paid a cent and lost money. You got Devlin, who's admitted on recordings, on that very recording, that he doesn't even look at what he's signing these days. He's like an idiot. Somebody puts a document in front of him, he's going to agree to build a complex or a global glamping business for somebody, and somebody else sells it for him, his business, and then he just signs it off, doesn't even look at the contract. And then you've got people like Lorenzo, who seems to be all over the place here. He seems to have his fingers in all the pies, doesn't he? He admits that he doesn't write the contracts, but he prepares the contracts and puts the clauses in for people to sign. I would really like to get a definitive number of how many people signed up under Lorenzo. Like, we're in the dark here. We don't know everything. We could ask Devon if he really is sorry for what he's done to open up his bank accounts and provide all the bank accounts, even the bank accounts he doesn't publicize. Imagine signing up to buy an Apple computer, and they ask you to put the money into a bank account called Zigazaka. And you're going, who the hell is Zigazaka? And they go, oh, it's just a bank account we use, but it hasn't got Apple's name on it. That's what basically Devon has been doing. Now, if I'm a sales guy and let's say I'm a registered real estate guy, that maybe these guys need to be realtors. You think that if you were selling property, what are you selling here? You're selling property, so wouldn't you have to have a realtor's license? And if you're selling property, if you're a realtor, you'd have a whole lot of things that you must do. So now you've got people who are selling business opportunities who maybe aren't qualified to do so. I mean, so we're going to go to a phone company, a phone sales company, and we're going to tell them that we're selling pink elephants that fly to the moon on a spaceship called Larry. And the phone guy goes, well, how much do you sell that for? And he goes, I sell it for $500,000. And he goes, well, we take 40% of that. Okay, then. Well, that's all right. I can afford to pay you 40% of, traveling, taking pink elephants to Mars on a whatever. And then the phone sales goes, oh, how long have you been doing it for? And they say, oh, I've been doing it for ages. Been taking lots of people for joy rides to the moon, lots of pink elephants to the moon. Okay, that's good. Well, as long as you're well established and you've been doing it in the past, who am I to question? So they're selling stuff that they know shit all about. They're taking commissions. And then when it all falls over, they're saying, well, we didn't know. We didn't do enough due diligence. But Lorenzo, well, he's set himself up. He's already doing joy rides to the moon. He's got himself another agenda. He's helping victims who have lost money, hoping they might invest in his new opportunity. The only one here sitting pretty, even Devon isn't sitting pretty. I don't think Devon's living or sitting on a pile of money. As far as I'm concerned, Devon could be an alcoholic. He could be a gambler. He could be taking hundreds of thousands of dollars down to the local casino and gambling it all away. Is that where the money went? Don't know. Would be nice to find out, Devlin, if you really want to help your friends that you've been signing these contracts without looking at them. Do you know what I'm getting at? But I can't. I have to go back to Lorenzo. I mean, don't block me on LinkedIn when I'm investigating you. Don't delete Instagram accounts. Don't scrub stuff from the internet. Don't take 10 days to get back to somebody after you said that you'd get back in a few days' time. And then I'll be this weekend, I'm really busy. And then I get crickets for 4 or 5 days. And then I have to send you 2, 3 emails. I send you iMessages. I send you WhatsApp messages. And then I get a phone call. I don't really want to talk to you because there's a court case pending. And I don't want to ruin the chances of people getting their money back. Oh, really, mate? You're a good guy, aren't you? And then, I didn't know that you had your own camping ground and you're selling packages very similar to what Devlin's doing. I didn't realize that you used to work for PhoneSales, the first version, not the second version. And I realize that now you've got your name down as a member on a company called PhoneSales LLC. And you've received commissions. And you're now getting paid $3,000 a month and taking money in shares instead because I'm poor. I can't afford to pay people back. Just sounds too good to be true for some people, but not the victims. Not the victims. Not the victims that listen to the sales pitch. Not the victim of the people that told that we're going to get a monthly dividends. So we're going to get so much per year. They just had to hand over their money. And then when they asked those questions, they said, all sorted, no worries. They've thought of all that. They've got an established business. I've seen the people going camping there. I know they're camping there. It's a fully operational centre. He's done this before. This guy's well experienced. He's been doing it for years. You've got nothing to worry about. Just don't read the terms and conditions or the disclaimer because they say something different. I don't know, guys. I feel for people. Need a razor? I don't need a razor, Rob. Nice to see you here, Rob. I just think it's sad, sad, sad. So, how about that? Anyway, that's me for today, and that's the Global Glamping. Tomorrow, we will probably have something else for you. We had a bit of a big blog yesterday. I actually did write a new blog up just last night. It's a really funny one, this one. Even I don't really understand it, but this guy is a recruitment company. And originally, it was like a marathon blog, and I said to ChatGPT, I said, look, I know I've provided you a lot of information about this one, but this one's all about, you can hire yourself an assistant to do things for you. So here's the company here, which one you want, and basically you can hire slave labor. Yep, and you can hire them, and and everyone that hires them hates them. But it seems like this young couple seem to be traveling around, selling this whole thing. So that's why we're going to investigate. I actually...
Hi everyone, just wanted to say huge thanks to the team of Recruit2, to the sales managers, starting from sales managers and ending with HR managers as well. They just landed an interview for me a few days ago, just like 2 days ago.
It's always good to get a testimonial. And from the young lady.
Всем привет, меня зовут Зарема, и я работаю виртуальным ассистентом в
Oh,
компании
hold it.
Recruit2.
This page won't be here when you come back.
И одно из самых лучших преимуществ этой работы это, конечно же, гибкий график и возможность работать
Yes.
с разными
Anyway,
людьми
so
по всему миру.
don't understand what that's all about. But anyway, apparently I'm doing an investigation on that tomorrow. It's not going to be the most exciting, so I wouldn't turn up if I was you, just saying. But it is another investigation. It is another scam that people are getting and losing money on. So I thought I'd do an investigation on it, as you do. So if you click on something such as scam, you'll find, hopefully you'll find, yes, there I am, already coming up. But their Trustpilot reviews are even worse than mine. So they've got like 2.1 stars. So I'm having a field day with that one. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that before I get started. Hope this has helped somebody. Hopefully it gives you some closure, or it fires up. You fire up your investigation skills. We're still looking for information. This isn't, the fat lady hasn't sung yet. There's still more to come out of this global glamping. There is another angle I wanted to explore. I was going to do an in-depth investigation on America Outdoor Holiday Park, whatever it's called, because I think these companies, I'd love to investigate this side of the business and just see whether this is actually something that's feasible and isn't something that's just a sales pitch. Because I'm sick of hearing sales pitches. I would like to find somebody to figure out whether if I invested 300Ks into a business opportunity, whether I can actually write off $1.2 million worth of money and make money every month. Those 3 claims there would be quite neat, but I don't even know how to start on that one. But I wouldn't mind doing a whole investigation just on this claim and this website. So that's something I might do in the future. But until then, you go run along and play with your other friends, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm Danny DeHeck. Thanks to everyone in the chat room. Thank you for the lovely donations along the way. Remember, I don't get paid for doing this. I just do it because I love it. But hopefully I've helped somebody. And if I help you, show your appreciation, buy us a $5 cup of coffee, or anything like that, really goes a long way to keeping the wolves away from my door. I will now go away and enjoy the rest of my day. It's 20 to 4 on Monday here, and it's probably very late for you guys. Is it 20 to 10? Round about that? Yeah, it looks like fraud, that one, doesn't it? I agree. You guys rock. Nice to see you here, Nev. And hi, what's your name called? Rob something. Rob Stranger. There we go. All right, see you guys in the next video. I'm Danny DeHeck.
You sold them the dream. Domes in the mountains. Money every month. Contracts on the table. But when the dream disappeared, we followed the paperwork. When the money came in, before a single guest could even check in. Contracts signed and promises made. 6 figures down for a future prepaid. Salesmen talking, closing the deal. Pictures made the whole thing look real. Domes in the distance, paradise sold. Then the payment stopped and the story got old. One side says I didn't know. One says I only made the sale. But somebody took the money and somebody failed. Follow the money. Show me where it went. Follow the money. Every dollar, every cent. You can blame the weather, you can blame the plan, but a signed contract still bears your hand. Follow the money. No more stories, no disguise. When the paperwork starts talking, PhoneSales opened up the file. CRM records stretching for miles. Names and contracts, leads on the screen. Deals appearing where they shouldn't have been. They confronted Devon face to face. Pulled up the contracts case by case. 300,000, search it again. Where was the payment? Where had it been? Then came the words caught on the call. Anything that comes through, I just sign it. No checking the contracts. No answers at all. You signed it, they paid it. You promised, they waited. Build the dome, pay the return, give the refund. How many times can the same money burn? Money burn. Hi. Then Lorenzo stepped into the light. Said he was fooled, said he wants to make it right. Hundreds of thousands in commissions received, while the people he sold to still feel deceived. He says when his contract finally ends, he'll be more willing to make amends. $3,000 a month, but equity instead. While victims remember every promise they read. I won't call him guilty for somebody else's crime, but accountability doesn't disappear with time. If you sold the dream, if you took the pay, what do you owe? When the dream falls away, follow the money, show me where it went. Follow the money, every dollar, every cent. You can blame the permits, the contract doesn't rain, but none of those excuses make the victims whole again. Follow the money, put the evidence before our eyes, because when the bank records start talking, the truth doesn't need an alibi. And now, another resort, another cabin, another investment pitch. $300,000 in, up to 1-2 million write-off. Monthly cash flow, contractual payments, a target IRR. Lorenzo says he learned from Global Glamping. So this time, we'll be watching from the beginning. I'm not calling it fraud. I'm not calling it a scam. I'm asking the question before the money changes hands. Show the structure, show the permits, show the books, show the plan, because we've already seen what happens when nobody checks the mail. The mail. 40%. Who got paid? 300 grand. Why was it made? Signed contracts, promises due, missing answers. We're coming for the truth. No more wait, no more excuses, no more promises. Just show us the money. Follow the money, from the salesman to the top. Follow the money until the questions stop. For every family still waiting to be paid, for every promise that somebody made. Follow the money. Contracts, don't forget the lies. And when the evidence starts talking, the truth doesn't need an alibi. Money was paid, contracts were signed, obligations were created, some were never fulfilled. So don't give me another story. Give me the record.